Welcome to the show. It is Friday evening. It is 2 minutes actually after the hour of 7 p.m. It is Friday evening. And if you know, like I knew, it's time for the new norm 2.0 with your boy Mo Delgado. Welcome to the show, and I hope everybody's feeling well. I hope you've had a productive week. And I hope that this summer is not closing in on you. We've had a productive week in the state, in the nation, I guess. There's a lot of activity, but first off, let me take a quick drop of water because, I need my liquids. But I hope everybody's really well. Um, this week, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news, the discussions that we recently had. Um, if anyone's not paying attention, Governor Andrew Cuomo has stepped down under allegations of sexual misconduct or aggravated debauchery, or I guess, I don't know exactly why he stepped down other than to say that he didn't want to be in the way, which, in that, understandably, I can hear you, because in a situation when it comes to politics, when it comes to legal matters, things always seem to be extensively long. Justice never seems to come around when it needs to be done. So it's one of those things, considerations that you need to take. A lot of us appreciated Governor Cuomo in his tenure for how he interacted with individuals in New York and the nationwide with regards to COVID-19, with regards to the economy, with regards to Black Lives Matter, the movement, identifying immigration, different matters, the anti-Asian hate movement. Andrew Cuomo has stood up quite a bit in defense and in support of a lot of, I would say, honorable social welfare things. But when it comes to something like this, it's a serious matter. So I pray that everyone gets their justice, everyone gets their just due. There's a lot of speculation that this is a political plot, which there could be a little political plot sprayed up in it, like my man, Mr. Brown says, putting a little bit of barbecue or something, my mom's barbecue up on it. Um, I'm inclined to feel that there's a lot of politics involved in this. Is it saying that it didn't happen? I don't know. I'm not one to judge whether it did or did not. Hopefully, the judges in this whole case can prove what did or did not happen, and justice will come about. And if it is, it's a situation where someone was disrespected, if anyone was abused sexually, anyone was pushed on or bullied for physical contact or the attention, I hope that you can get your justice. But if it's a lie, I hope you get exposed too, either which way. Because in this present time, we've seen a lot of accusations take place about misconduct all the way around. And we don't see necessarily things coming to a fruition, anything coming to a head, no justice being had. And the general public doesn't necessarily have much trust in the justice system. Sad to say, justice is supposed to be Justice, and it seems to be always Justus. In other words, the only people that really truly get justice are those people that can afford it and take it to the extent that they need, utilizing their resources and utilizing the proper people to be able to be successful in the court of justice. So, I don't know. It's just really sad when you think people are pretty good in nature, and then all of a sudden you find out, no, they're creeps. Underneath it all, they're people who are just allowing their power or presence to consume them. So, whatever it is, we're hoping that justice comes about. And then the deputy governor steps in and does an equal, if not better job than Andrew Cuomo. So that's what's taking place in New York. In addition to, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but mask mandates are starting to be pushed up more aggressively. There's a lot of discussion right now because Florida, Texas are banning mask mandates, the governors themselves. But there's other governors like in New York and in California, what have you, that are trying to emphasize the need for masks. If you're not paying attention, the COVID-19 cases are increasing, and they're increasing aggressively once more, once again. There's a lot of people, including myself, asking, I'm wondering why are we gotten to this way, knowing as much as we know about COVID-19, knowing what we do about helping to prevent it, but yet what's being attacked now seems to be our children. Our children seem to be the target of COVID-19. And it's extremely sad. And it's one of those type of things that we have to do what we can to do to protect one another and protect ourselves. I know we've spoken about it on many occasions here. COVID-19, just about every week since the pandemic started, since the new norm took place. It's the overall foundation of awareness that we're all trying to share with one another. And just recently, as we're seeing in New Jersey, the governor is starting to step up a little bit more of a suggestion, a hint, you should wear your masks when you're going indoors. You should wear this. And it's sad because I guess his proverbial hands are tied to the casino industry and tourism in New Jersey, and the angry Gestapo behind all that stuff that thinks that making money precedes protection of life. And although Governor Murphy has suggested that, if we don't have people that are alive, then we have no economy. Life creates the economy, so we have to preserve life. But he's moving really gingerly, really slow, protecting us in this wave. So, but what I am seeing when I'm noticing going out in the public, I'm noticing more and more people wear masks. So it's comforting to know that more and more of us are paying attention and doing what we can to protect ourselves as well as others. But there's instances still today where there's festivals, there's big parties, beach parties, clubs, any chance for youthful individuals. And I say youthful individuals because once you get old, partying is important to us. Are basically being drawn in high levels of amount of people to these entities or these events where there's mass amounts of people and they're elbow to elbow, and then as much as we'd like to believe, like right now, presently this weekend, there's two big events here in Atlantic City. One is the Fish concert, and the other is a car show event extravaganza. I don't know exactly how to properly call it, but it's being called Carcella. I'm almost 100% guaranteed that you're going to see lots of people at all these events. Lots and lots and lots and lots of people. The Fish event is on the beach, and it's multiple days. Carcella, if I'm not mistaken, is multiple days also, but it's different locations. But at the still point in time, there's so many people going to come into Atlantic City, so many people going to go to these events that they're going to be basically shoulder to shoulder. So these are concerns that you have. There's going to be some people pretending to have been vaccinated and won't be, and it'll be amongst the people in there, whether they're looking to party, and you understand by the term party, and let loose and have a good time and drink and indulge in the things that make them happy. But they could be carrying the COVID-19 virus, not even discussing what else they could be carrying, because reality is that COVID-19 has been the most urgent form of health. I guess we've become most volatile on this present time with COVID-19. And it's the most urgent case of health issue that we've been facing in so long. But however, there's still other situations that are still easily concerning. There's influenza that still exists. Cancer still exists. AIDS, HIV still exists. We still have bloodborne diseases, tuberculosis, E. coli. All these other factors still exist. So as we're emphasizing so much on COVID-19, we are, in essence, protecting ourselves from other things under the focus of COVID-19, which is good. But then in other cases where we're so rampantly dismissive of the impacts of COVID-19 that we put ourselves and our families in jeopardy for COVID-19 and every other thing that people could be carrying. anybody with autoimmune disease or the immune deficiencies should be really on high alert because you never know what's being carried on people. And it's not people just deliberately wanting to spread these things, because God forbid there are individuals that are like that. However, we've known situations in the past where people who have had AIDS knew they had AIDS, and they were deliberately spreading AIDS to other people through sex and intravenous drug use, other diseases. I mean, humans are foul. You know, the human history. When we look at history itself, my wife and my son and I were looking at different things that like top 10 worst cases of experiment medical experiments being done on human beings. And history just shows that we're some foul ass individuals, foul ass people as human beings. We do so much good, but then in the essence of doing so much good, there's always some existence of bad that should not be there, man. So much existence. Before I continue, shouting out my mother-in-law, Nikki, and I see my girl Sheila. Hopefully you're doing well. God bless you and good evening. But back to what I was saying before, this case of COVID-19 right now, the aggressive mutated version of, as they call the Delta variant, is starting to really eat up the population. And it's extremely difficult. Oh, okay. I see Ronnie just jumped on too. Ronnie, good evening, Ronnie. I'm hoping everybody's good with you and the all the stuff that you do. Good to see you. Good evening. So we're talking the Delta variant. In Atlantic City, this is what we're the truth is Atlantic City has faced far more cases of COVID-19 than is being reported. The absolute truth is because of the factor of all the people who are in the business of tourism, who are in the business of managing business exactly, that depends on tourism, will do what they possibly can to elongate the summer, because the stretch of the pandemic that happened before caused so much pain and hurt throughout the economy and everything, that people in political office are doing what they can do to extend it as far as they possibly can without making an irreversible mistake, and we get consumed with deaths. Our hospitals are already strained from cases that we've had before. But in instances where Atlantic City is, this is the odd situation that I think some people may not be paying attention to. Atlantic City is the location that everyone wants to come to have a good time. Our full season capacity right now from the last census, and I'm waiting for the census numbers to come in, but we've been holding on to this concept of over 38,000 full-time residents here. Those of us that know, we've got about a good 60, 70,000 full-time. There's so many people who are not getting accounted for. And this is not even talking about the tourism that comes in consistently every day, every weekend, all season long, and then spikes during the up season, which is from March until, say, October. And then that's where we come into the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, millions over a weekend. I'd say just one time. We've had some serious numbers, 500,000, I think, for the air show one year, for the multiple events with the air show. So in saying that, people come here to have a good time. They don't immediately feel the symptoms of COVID-19 or anything else immediately. They go home to wherever they do, and they start to feel what they feel, and then they go to their hospitals and they get accounted for there. So that's one of the crazy dispositions that take place in Atlantic City. So in essence, in the very beginning, people who were being sought or had thought to have had COVID-19 was being requested or talked to or suggested that they go to another hospital, because the hospital in this area, or these hospitals, weren't ready to deal with COVID-19 to the full capacity as suggested, although they were, sadly enough. I don't know how irresponsible, or if it was just a clinical move to ensure that Everything is done in an ordinate way where services are at premium, the medical attention is at a premium, and people who are looking for the attention and need the attention because of COVID-19 get it. I'm not certain what it is. However, it took a long time for us to ramp up, and you see a big tent outside of the medical center to suggest anyone COVID-19 go and get fast tracked through the COVID-19 tent. I don't know what it is, but there's too much information from individuals who work in the hospital, who worked along with the hospital or around people in medical disabilities or in uh, rehabilitation centers and things like this that are suggesting that COVID-19 numbers are far higher than being reported. Even the amount of deaths could be suggested to be higher. I'm not certain, and I'm not saying that this is true. However, and then numbers are not as factual because, of course, we're not going to get numbers if they've done what they possibly can to avoid, to tabulate this stuff, to accommodate that. We know in the very beginning when the COVID-19 cases came about, one of the biggest issues that arose was the fact that people who may have been ill and hospitalized were suggested to the whole process identifying these individuals was tainted a bit by the understanding that those who are identified as COVID-19 cases, the hospitals who are attending to those COVID-19 cases get an elevated amount of financial support for that one versus someone else for another issue. So that seemed to be an attraction, or this was proposed to be a possible attraction for some hospitals to identify individuals to be COVID related illnesses when in essence they may not, which is the exact opposite to what I'm saying, where the suspicions are that the cases are lower here, or actually a lot higher, but not being accounted for. And in that instance, I think a lot of the impetus behind it is because as long as they keep the numbers down and it's not being reported, people are more likely to come to Atlantic City to spend their money here, and it can start feeding the economy or the machine that feeds so much throughout the state, especially the arms of government. And when I say that, the arms of government are wide all over the state, from the farthest points in Wayne and Hunterdon Valley, all the way down to Cape May. There's always someone who's benefited from the assets in here in Atlantic City, which is Casino Redevelopment Association, funding, lawyers, name it. Someone's always got a bag here from Atlantic City, and it continues to do so. So we're going to keep it as honest and as we're going to try to perpetuate as much of the truth and be a home for a dialogue, a good discussion that we need to have, because ultimately it's our home. It's Atlantic City is our home for those of us that live here. And wherever you live on the world, on the web, wherever you reside, you should take pride in where you live, and you should be very active in understanding what is existing, what is potentially harmful, what is testing the infrastructure in your city and in your area, because ultimately this pandemic is affecting not only my community, it's affecting your community and the world, the universal community that we're all a part of. And we have to play a better part to be cognizant of what is being done behind cameras and in discussions that aren't easily available to the general public. So as we go on, I'm going to continue a little bit more on news, because it's extremely important for us to pay attention to the news. Recently, the discussions with the infrastructure in the Senate, it was a successful move or a mobility of the infrastructure bill that was proposed not long ago. It's the physical infrastructure bill is what we're talking about. We're talking about in excess $2.1 trillion, and I think there's numbers escalating up to $4.6 trillion in total. But the discussion is still a lot of money being agreed on by the federal government to go into infrastructure. And infrastructure comes in two parts. This first part was agreed on, and the second part is now being discussed, and the strategies are being developed to roll them out shortly. And that's probably the one where there's a lot of focus and a lot of opposition. This first infrastructure is going to give us the opportunity to work on some of the things that we've fallen short of, which is roads, national transportation like trains, the airports, and flying or airlines. That whole system itself, there's going to be a surge of money funneled into there to assist it to make it better. I'm wondering how it could make it better other than lowering these high-ass prices from these airlines. Could they be helpful and lower by the prices, and then we'll go out and go taking trips? Hell yeah, we can do that. But in addition to, we also have to be very cognizant of where we go, because we seem to be loading up, all going to the same location. So all we're doing is overpopulating those areas. So if we got the cooties and we go into these places that are overpopulated, then we're bringing the cooties over there, and that's not a healthy thing. So let's be honest in what we do, and let's move forward, and hopefully this infrastructure will give us what we need. Better streets, bridges. Right now in Atlantic City, we have 2 bridges that are, I'd say, curiously awaiting a financial boost to help provide what's necessary to replace 2 dilapidated bridges. Now, these 2 bridges have already previously been replaced. There's been an extended amount of evaluation, reevaluation, evaluation, reevaluation, that whole process about the land and immediate area where these bridges have been. Next to or adjacent to that area, a tunnel was built as some sort of remedy or a sidetrack or a benefit that someone brilliantly thought about some years ago, right, in Venice Park. Someone thought about years ago to build a tunnel, a connector tunnel from the expressway as you come into Atlantic City, and to avoid anything else out of Atlantic City to go directly into the Marina District. Brilliant concept. No, it wasn't. But what it did is it went under the area near Venice Park where the bridge sits on. So the infrastructure that was built has put some sort of dampening or broke away on the infrastructure, the greater infrastructure of the bridge, and then the waterway that's right adjacent to this. So some of us in the political arena are looking to see if we can attach the expenses needed to the overwhelming long-term effects that this bridge or this connector has done to the community, because there's a lot of it that's still pending. There's still a lot to these bridges that are taking place that need to be done. I proposed as, for those of you who may not know, I'm a city council elected official in Atlantic City, and I've been in for 3 terms now. This is my 3rd term. So earlier on in my tenure, I had proposed possibly looking into building secondary bridges, because the way these bridges are located in Venice Park in Atlantic City, it's an island attached to another island, attached to another island. They call it the lagoon, which is separated by a waterway. That lagoon is attached by one bridge only, one way in, one way out, sad to say. And it's a pretty populous area. And that lagoon goes into another area, which is Venice Park, which is another very populated area. Luckily, once you go into that area, there's more than one way to leave that area, because you can go directly off of the Black Horse Pike and leave, or you can go off the traditional way, which is another bridge. So we need the access points that are created for the first bridge area, or seem to be a little less strenuous than it is to the lagoon area. Well, the majority of us believe that it's better to build a secondary bridge from the opposite side of the Venice Park area. So in the lagoon at the back end of the bridge, attaching it over through a bridge, and a bridge that's strong enough for emergency vehicles, but designated only for foot or bike traffic temporarily, to build it from that area all the way over into the Venice Park area. And that would alleviate some stress there. And from the opposite side in the Venice Park, in that first bridge area, build another bridge that goes over into the other part of Atlantic City, So attaches. So both parts of Venice Park would have two access points coming in and out, and would also give a sense of pride to the community because it's walking bridges. It can beautify the community. It brings light, brings safety because police and fire and EMTs have multiple access points to get to people a lot faster. In sense of emergencies, we have more routes that we can evacuate people more effectively, efficiently. It provides just an overall benefit to the community. And I think I'm pretty certain we've had enough money to do this at least twice over in my tenure. But it seems like every time there's a plan, someone has a different plan to take those funds and move it somewhere else. So as the discussion continues, that's one of the things that my colleagues and I, those are in arms to help support Venice Park, which myself and Latoya Dunstan, Councilwoman Latoya Dunstan, which is a serious shot in the arm on City Council when it comes to fighting for the people. So we believe that Venice Park is due that. They're respectfully been denied opportunities the way they were. And I think it's now, it's past time. So we're going to try to do what we can to get federal funds to be trickled down into this community and see what we can do to expedite a replacement bridge and add additional bridges at the farthest ends. The farthest ends of Venice Park, the areas that are there, the homes that are there, can be provided either through regular, let's say, market value rates to the homes themselves if they want to do that, or there's got to be some sort of agreement. And I won't say eminent domain, but there should be agreements being made to create these opportunities so we can have these exit points, these additional exit points and entrance points available to Venice Park. So that's part of hopefully what trickles through from the infrastructure. The infrastructure bill also will provide additional funds for the electrical grid, which I know Atlantic City Electric has worked to do what they can to help the physical aspects of some of the grid, which is basically what you see, the light poles. There's been a lot more higher, stronger formatted iron type poles or aluminum poles, which is cool. So that's part of the infrastructure. There's other parts of the infrastructure with the electrical, the funneling systems, the transistors that seem to always blow up, the high capacity, the capacitors that are in between the relays that seem to get blocked sometimes or stifled, or they blow up, also burn out. So these infrastructure pieces should be able to receive funds to have replacement. So that's another important facet. But one that's going to bring a lot of discussion and something that we should have dealt with a long time is high-speed rail. The train system that we have in America is antiquated. We have a mass amounts of ground that could be covered if we had high-speed rail. High-speed rail is evident in Europe. It is evident in Asia. It's evident in Southeast Asia. High-speed rails provide a system to be able to move large portions of not only people, but product supplies. So the things that you see a lot of truck drivers driving, and now such a deficit of truck drivers, can be replaced by using high-speed rails. So a situation where a high-speed rail from, say, Philadelphia, that's our local access point to high-speed rails or the national rail system. We go over to Penn Station in Philadelphia. We take a rail over to, I say, we're trying to go out west, go to Colorado. What would normally take 3 days with high-speed rail can be done in 12 to 15 hours. So that's a benefit of high-speed rail. So, and it's also a discussion now that if people are paying attention to the billionaire bad boy, Elon Musk, he's developing these super high-pressure tunnels, and has proven from a small portion of it outside of his property in, if I'm not mistaken, Las Vegas going to California. I think that's where the property tunnels were. So he was successful in doing that. And he's supposed to be moving forward to present this opportunity of using a tunnel, high-speed tunnel, high-speed pressure tunnel rail system that'll be in tunnels underground throughout the United States to help assist with high-speed rail. Also, it'll be an automated rail system. So you can get in a car where no one's manned, and in this rail system, you can be delivered from one location to the next at high speeds without being manned in a protected, very high-tech generated car. So I don't know, but the proposal looks good. Let's see how it goes on. But look for high-speed rail to be a discussion. Here on the East Coast, it hasn't been as successful, probably because we're so congested with automobile traffic, because we like to drive everywhere. I swear, people are lazy as hell now when it comes to cars. We won't walk 4 blocks if we can drive 4 blocks. And in many areas, arenas all over the United States, they don't have that opportunity. So traveling is a lot easier for them, walking, bikes, even public transportation. We know in modern, larger communities like in Chicago and Philadelphia, in New York City, we have the rail system, you have the local municipal trains, buses. The public moving process is a lot better, but it can be tweaked. It can be better. What this infrastructure will be affording us is an opportunity and some leeway to look into more efficient, more effective, and timely people moving. So let's see how it goes. We're talking about in excess of $41 million just for the study of it. And they're talking about in the background, it's over $200 million for the development, the physical development. We'll see how that goes. Good evening to my brother. What's up, Adrian? How are you? Good evening.
What's going on, Mo? Checking out, what's going on here. Taking a little look. I heard the part where obviously where he said people are lazy, but at the same token, when it's 94 degrees outside, who the hell wants to walk?
Once, but if you had
the humidity is like freaking humongous. It's like out of this world.
Yeah.
As it would say, the humidity.
It's difficult, but I look at it this way sometimes. If you got people in other places on the planet that this ain't shit, they'll put on layers of fabric working at 107-degree temperature, and that's just a cold day to them. We can manage. It depends on our comfort levels,
Well, like it says, you can manage. It depends on where you're located, also.
Mm-hmm.
So that your geographical location has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
So it all depends, But each person. I just came back from New York yesterday,
mm-hmm.
and it was a hell of a ride. The traffic was out of this world. Serious, Oh hell yeah, and especially when you have accidents.
Yeah.
There was an accident with I believe Amazon Prime. One of the trucks got hit by a car and the whole 9 yards. So then they had to get a few more Amazon Prime vans to actually unload all of the packages. And that could take a while, especially in New York.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, so that was crazy. Then coming back, I ran into road construction, in Jersey. So all day I was dealing with traffic jams and the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
From New Jersey all the way up to Staten Island. No, Long Island, Long Island.
And that makes it even more difficult in the heat wise, because while you're sitting idling in traffic, no matter how much air conditioning, you're still frustrated. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to remember, because when you're just sitting there idling, that's a substantial amount of fumes going into the air.
The gasoline being used, yes.
A car is much likely to overheat when it's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And the engine is running.
That's true.
Hey, Renee, I see you. So it all gets real.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is relevant in life.
Yeah.
Because right now a lot of trucks are not moving, so it's actually saving, the planet in one way, but at the same time, look at what's happening when you go to the store shelves. When the last time you've been to the store shelves and you actually to the grocery store and all you see is nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's missing.
Zilch.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier with this infrastructure bill. The portion of the infrastructure bill that has to do with high-speed rail is it's going to be a real big talking point, because we're just seeing how we've relied on old antiquated systems so much. And when something like this puts such a major kink in this whole process, then we have to look at how we're going to do it better.
You have to consider, okay, the very first high-speed rail. It was invented right here in the United States. The inventor, invented it. He was writing from the United States, but the United States government would not grant him a patent, so he took it overseas. It's called magnetic levitation, maglev.
Yeah.
He's from America, so he took it overseas, and then eventually Walt Disney and some of these guys picked it up from overseas because the German government and some of the other governments overseas say, "Hey, that's a pretty good idea," but it was founded right here in the United States.
Yeah. I
And
think the
so,
first.
so the big topic is like America has always been late to the prom. That's all the bottom line really is. We've
Yeah.
always been late. A lot of stuff was invented here in the United States, but
Use somewhere else.
eventually it came back to the United States when it could have been here from the get-go.
Yeah. You imagine, like, I know the first location that's widely understood to use high-speed rail is Japan. Japan is an island
Japan
country.
was one of the countries that took it from the inventor. Correct.
And
And
Japan is not as big.
400 miles an hour. These
Yeah.
old things on the rails can't hit that high speed.
And their high-speed rail has already gone to like the next level. What we're walking into is something that we can't fathom, moving 400 and 500 miles an hour the way they're doing. I mean, they've already developed, well, like you said before, the maglev system, the single rail maglev system, and now they're using some other kinetic type of energy where the faster they go, the more stable the vehicle goes. And I think this is where Elon Musk is working on with high pressure in a tunnel because he wants to use no rails.
Well, when you have a proper suspension system with maglev, it elevates the cars and it grips it onto the railing. So
Right.
it actually, because two magnets in opposite will actually, detract from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'll actually grip onto the rails. And with the suspension system, it's a very smooth ride at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. Oddly enough, people may not be paying attention, but if you're a comic book movie watcher, the last movie, Black Panther, the rail system that they're working was basically that, using the maglev system, magnetic levitation, the power or the magnetic electricity created, or the anti-electricity created by using the force itself, creates a platform so you can skate on. It's a non-friction based system that can move, and then so much speed can develop depending on how it's being pushed. And I think, like I said, this is the type of system that's trying to be integrated by Elon Musk out west, and he's trying to introduce it in a national scale, which might end up being a really good benefit to us. I don't know about digging tunnels the way he wants to, because I know in some parts of America, I don't know if the tunnel structuring would be feasible, being that we have cavernous areas and we have a lot of ground breaking in, the tectonic shifts in the land.
Let me pause you there for a second, Mo, because you have to think about the Lincoln Tunnel. Mm-hmm. Look at the Lincoln Tunnel. Look at the Holland Tunnel. These things were dug underwater. Mm-hmm. So if they could actually do these things, man will push the limits. Yeah, you give them enough money, they'll push the limits. When you're actually going into New York, into Manhattan, you're going through you're going underwater.
Mm-hmm. The rail system in Europe.
Exactly. So if they could actually do that, they could then do anything when it comes down. You do really think that if the earth is soft or whatever the case may be, they're still going to find a way to get around it and harden up that earth and actually get those things through, even if they have to go up and then go down.
Yeah. There's a will, there's a way, and then the necessity. So I think because right now we're in such a big disposition of so much necessity, and there's so much money being printed to support the necessity, that it's gonna make these rail barons that once were come right back. The rail system is actually gonna be, as you say, history relives itself consistently. The DuPont family, I'm trying to remember the Blue Buds involved with the rail system in the beginning, the ones who made millions and millions of dollars when everybody else was earning cents a week, 2 and 3 cents a week.
Yeah, a whole lot of them back in the day. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know the DuPonts.
From when they came up with a computer, it made a lot of people millionaires and billionaires. Bill Gates, and all of these guys and all of his cronies, and the
Carnegie family. Apple, Carnegie. There were like 4 major families that were all embedded in the rail systems that worked on trains. One person was train tracks. Another was locomotions. The other one was the cars, the connectors.
The wood that you have to actually put those trains over the the lumber.
Everything, yep. The manpower, yep. All that stuff. So I see it coming back. which is not a bad thing because rail system is right now under a lot of scrutiny also because of the accidents that have taken place. We've seen some accidents in really difficult times, in situations that you wouldn't think there'd be an accident, but it's just human error and then faulty older equipment, and people are not being very the amount of inspections that once were don't no longer exist. So I'm looking forward to see what it is, because this nation is a beautiful nation, man. And for us to be able to travel from one side to another and not have to worry about the flights, the cost of a plane ticket, being able to find a plane ticket, the cost of a plane ticket, and some of the restrictions.
Well, you have a lot of plane tickets available on Spirit Airlines coming up soon. Trust me.
You saw how they
vacancy on Spirit. Trust me.
I don't know. I'm not
booking a flight on Spirit. Trust and believe me.
Yeah. Well, but that big ass, what was it? Over 3,000 cases that they messed up. Yeah.
You won't have a problem booking a flight on Spirit. Not at all.
You may not leave and get there at the same day in time that you made.
You can go to any destination at your own risk.
There you go. As long as you put that on at your own risk. Yep.
Play at your own risk.
Yeah. So we'll see. But it's going to be something. But I know there's a lot of discussion in that way. Infrastructure is also talking about airlines. So you're going to see a lot of development. Hopefully it's going to come out for the good, because traveling is something that's part of the American persona. We like to travel. We live in different parts. We have so much access all over the world. That's probably the only other nation on this part of the world that access to travel as much as we do is Canadians. There's always Canadians everywhere, and they have free access all over the world because of the relationships they have with the world. Mexico, I don't see that as much. People come to Mexico. Not a lot of Mexicans go to other parts of the world.
Yeah, a lot of Mexicans are coming to America, brother. What are you talking about? A lot of Mexicans are coming to America.
But
it's still the American dream.
We've still seen an increase of numbers, or a decrease of people migrating from Mexico coming into America, and it's actually they're repatriatizing themselves. People who are Mexicans who live here and have been Americans for decades are returning to Mexico because the circumstances in Mexico are somewhat better in some instances. It's not to say that it isn't migration or illegal immigration is not taking place.
It's still happening. It's always going to happen.
Yeah, it's always going to
happen.
Yeah, it's always,
no matter the technology, it's always going to happen.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. It just depends on the people, because you have people who have prospered already, don't have to struggle like they did back in their home country in Mexico, and they look for opportunities in America, and they're willing to do just about anything, to make opportunities happen. God bless them all. Everyone having to face like pesticides directly. They're working with agriculture and they're picking farms and so on and so forth, making sure that we have all the produce that we need in our supermarkets. And pesticides are regularly being sprayed on these human beings, and then they're not being treated fairly, and they have to go sometimes through dispositions where you have what they call them coyotes, where they're smuggling human beings into America. So you know what I mean? These are dispositions that we have to be concerned about. But the systems are changing a bit, which is good. Our relationship, I like the fact that our relationship seems to be mending a little bit better with our neighbors, with Mexico. There's not so much vitriol versus anyone who is Mexican and coming into America in our relationships, which is good. The southern border seems to be softening up again. Saludos a Lydia. I saw Lydia Benjamin. God bless you too. It's good to see you. Hopefully everyone's well. Thank you for tuning in. But I'm really pleased on how the southern border seems to be. There's still some issues going on, because you saw your girl, the vice president, was being attacked on a regular basis about the situation of the southern border. And remember, she was there. Yeah. She took a visit, and after that, it got quiet, which is good, But there's still a lot of suspicions. We don't see too much of Kamala. I'm like trying to figure out what's going on with the vice president. I mean, we don't get to see.
He's handling a business. You know what I'm saying? When you're handling your business, you're not going to be in the public's eye, over and over again.
Well,
Remember, she's got a lot of cleaning up to do.
yeah, a lot. but even that, even in
That was the last president, do you?
yeah,
As soon as Joe Biden went into office, look how many things he had to reverse.
yeah.
And then Joe's like, I want her to be my VP. Can you handle this, that, and the other thing for me, along with these other things to master? This lady's got to handle the business.
Well, that's part of the whole thing. When you want a certain position, you have to accept
the work that goes along, the workload that goes along with it.
But in addition to, you still have to be visible to the American public who are looking.
But you still got to handle your business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can't be out there spying, stunning, and profiling. You still have business to handle.
But I'm saying that's part of the business. That's part of the business. People like to see their leadership. They even if it's just a small detail. Hi, how you doing? Even popping up. It's one of the things I did see. Like I said, when Uncle Joe was the VP, he would pop up in the weirdest places, and spend some time breaking bread, whatever the situation, to remind people that he was there and he was still working his magic. You know what I mean? Even in the hardships that he had to work with. But I know now there's a lot more cleaning up because of where Trump is. But I think there's still opportunities, and she should still remember the grassroots connection that was made with human beings. And
I know she's not going to forget where she came from. This for sure. But the fact of the matter, like I said, there are other important things on the table. I saw a few days ago, as a matter of fact, in Congress, as trying to break the tie there. So, like I said, you're still dealing with Mitch McConnell. And he's a handful by himself.
Yeah, but you know what? I see Manchin as being worse than Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, the more he opens his mouth,
is the undercover dude, man.
Yeah, the more you see Mitch McConnell, the more you start recognizing how much of a dim-witted pain in the ass he seems to be. And people aren't paying attention to him, oddly enough. You see the Republican mass just showed recently in the infrastructure where you had 27 Republicans side with the Democrats. They weren't supposed to side. Apparently, it was only supposed to be 50, and Manchin was supposed to be the table turner here and there. Well, you saw how many people that took place, which I'll give some credit to Vice President Kamala Harris, because I'm pretty certain she worked the magic in there, and everyone else is part of it. So I applaud them in doing so, because it's about working together. So it's not. I don't think Mitch McConnell is much of an entity as he once was, or the power that he gave him. I think there's so much going on right now
that Trump lost the election and ended up turning back over everything to the Democrats.
But you see how
now Mitch is living. Mitch is eating himself from the inside out.
But you see how these idiots are still talking about trying to put Trump back in position. These guys are really adamant talking about we're going to put him back in place.
Come on, Mo. Everyone knows that Donald Trump is a con man, and if you don't know that, you should. And that's the bottom line. These people fell for. They call it the big lie, but it's more like the big con. Okay, and that's it. They fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Isn't that
look how many of those people were believing that they could actually overthrow the government January 6th, the insurrection.
That's the American way, though.
Yeah, to overthrow the government. Yeah, that's the American way.
No, the American way it's the American way. Remember, we have Americans who believe the American process.
But there is a right way and a wrong way.
And then we have residents who live in America. All of us who think differently because we have to face different hardships and different realities.
There's a such thing, it's called voting. There's a right way and there's a wrong way in doing it.
But what have they, even in the concept of the right or wrong way, what have they done? And this is what I've implored and told people on countless occasions. If you don't know how the system works, you can't complain and say that the system isn't working. It's working exactly how
it's Trump out of office, so apparently it is working.
It's working exactly how it's intended. But you have to understand, if the system was never meant for you and intended for you, don't expect it to work for you. So, you have to really consider the situation. It may be the only process that we have available for us, so we have to master the process, but we can't complain and say the system is broken. It works exactly how it was intended. If you know how to make it work, it's going to work for you, and it's been proven over and over again.
Well, they wanted to stop, you remember the insurrection and what it was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just the bottom line. He's a con man.
Yeah, we know that. The con continues. And what about
And look,
situation
he's
with
still
Cuomo.
raking them over the coals with their money. He's like, yeah, make a donation here, make a donation there. You know, we're going to come back into power. There's no doubt about it. And they're believing it.
Well, you
Each
see
and
what they
every.
do. Do you think? I'm inclined to think that this whole concept with Trump, that this move against Cuomo has some part into some connection of Trump, because Trump.
Everybody's saying the same thing too. I'm looking at that from a different angle.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm looking at it from a different angle because, you know, but the ironic thing about it, you're looking at the attorney general who was put in place by Andrew Cuomo.
Right.
And
Right.
she's the one that went after him. But
Right.
he thought that he was going to be vindicated. He says, I don't mind having them investigate me because you're going to find nothing and I'm going to be vindicated at the end of the day. And he just got caught up in his words.
Hmm.
Be careful what you say. It might come back to haunt you. And it did.
You talking about Trump or Cuomo?
Cuomo.
Oh, okay. Okay. But all I kept thinking was, Cuomo is the one that designates as the acting governor. You decide who's going to be the attorney general in your state. You're the one that resides. So you're the one that can cut off the legs off of any pending prosecution if need be. So if Cuomo is now removed, and Cuomo may have been the impetus behind trying to encourage the AG in the state to go after the Trumps if they identify something to go after, who's to say that Trump's influence in New York City hasn't suggested that they come after Cuomo, and now they're in a situation where Cuomo has sided with stepping down, trying to place someone else to take the legs out of this whole prosecution against Donald Trump. So I'm inclined to believe that. It's not to say that whatever was proposed that has been said or alleged to have happened may have happened. I don't know.
But instead of allow Cuomo to go through the judicial process,
yeah,
that's what is missing.
Yeah,
to go through the entire, you know. But instead, all the Democrats jumped up and it says, "Let's get him out of here." Period, because that's the type of guy he is.
Which it's huh? Did you hear Cuomo's excuse? What Cuomo's excuse or what?
Of the rape allegations.
No.
He said, "I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian."
Oh no, that's bad.
And it was on the news.
My son said he's quoted to say his reason for it. He says, "I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian." I'm like, I don't know if I've heard that, but he's saying it's all over the place. That would be a hell of a bold statement and disrespectful to his own Italian community.
Yeah.
You know, I would be inclined to believe he's a little more sensitive to saying something stupid like that in front of the public. But the way things are rolling, you never know how situations are, you know. But ultimately, he's going to have to face his justice. I'm inclined to believe that, you know, once you get in high levels like that and you putting it against the national agenda, like he was willing to step up against Trump in position when he was the president. So you willing to go at arms, then you're always going to find some sort of counter opposition. You're going to find something. And now, you know, should you have continued in your position and fought it still? But I hear what you're saying. You don't want to get in the way and you'll step down.
You have a lot of guys, you know, elderly guys, you know, going back like, you know, the age of Cuomo and Trump and the whole, that's the way they were brought up, you know, in that type of environment, running around in that circle. Bill Cosby, you know, Harvey Weinstein, Bill, you know, and the list goes on and on. Jeffrey Epstein, all of these guys ran in pretty much the same circle. Mm-hmm. You know, you're looking at Hugh Hefner. A lot of these guys hung out at the Hugh Hefner Bunny Ranch back in the day.
That guy, it's amazing how that man has been allowed to be as perverted as he has been, so unethically. His wealth, his existence has all been built on teetering on ethics, man. It's really bad. It's a shame. And I ain't gonna lie, you know, as men, we love to see beautiful women, you know, but what he has been the emphasis of, it seems, that he's been allowed to be what he is. And what he is doesn't seem to be productive at all, other than just a dirty old man. You know, Hugh Hefner has known to have had like 13-year-old girlfriends and multiple 14-year-olds here and there. And the public don't even care about it. But like you said, he had a bunny ranch.
Yeah.
and he had that Epstein thing. I mean, it's a link of the well-to-do, wealthy, empowered, um, not just only white, but it seems to be the same thing. White.
They go straight across the border because, like I said, a lot of this stuff stemmed back to the 80s.
Mhm.
The late 70s, early 80s. The 80s was nothing but glitz and glamour back then.
Mhm.
And everybody ran their own circles and they did a lot of stuff, Studio 54, Eddie Murphy. It was crazy in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of great music, but it was crazy, trust and believe.
Yeah. That one, the 80s. Well, I guess the age of cocaine and all that nonsense. You know what I mean? It really depends.
Yeah,
People,
the Contra, Ronald Reagan, the whole 9 yards.
yeah, people
It was a
do
hell
what
of a
they want
decade.
to. They continue to do what they want to. The age of parties always be an existing thing. It's a shame, but I tell you, when you look at it, there's even more discussion being had about the child sex acts and the rings that are being had. There's still more discussion. How more and more people have been lately, more and more people are being discovered to have participated. Did you see how Prince, is it the Prince Harry?
Yeah, here's
Um,
another one running that same circle caught up
hmm?
from the 80s also. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about it.
yeah, but it was just recently somebody did a case. They sued him in international court for the involvement in possibly sexual,
Yeah,
I guess, sexual batter or just.
yeah, against a minor.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So this is going to be deep
it was
because
all part of the 80s, my brother. It was all part of the 80s. It's coming back to haunt them.
in this
The
situation,
Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter. It's coming back to haunt a lot of people, man. I'm serious.
if you think about it,
They're reckoning.
in this situation, we have a person who's a commoner going after a royal. And so this is going to be a real big trickle down process. She's going after the royal, and there's a lot of support to say that she's going to win her case against this royal, which is going to expose the royal and all the protections and
Well,
the
this
jail.
guy said he doesn't know this young lady. He's never met this young lady, but a picture is worth 1,000 words with him hugging on this young lady.
Mhm.
That's where the evidence comes in. So when he actually said he doesn't know her and never met her, and then she has a picture of him, dude, you just cornered yourself.
But besides that, remember you had the rolls and rolls. I think it's scrolls. She may have had like 20 scrolls of interactions between people. The madam that was Epstein's crew. She had
Yeah,
records of individuals and transactions and people and so forth. That
correct. She's doing time right now. She's in prison.
hmm But she's trying to negotiate her exit.
Well, yeah, back like I said, Mo, back in the 80s, you had a lot of people who were madams. It was the thing.
Hmm.
It was the thing. And then when AIDS came out, everybody decided, it shocked a lot of people, their consciences.
Yeah. Um, well, if we're starting to see this, a lot of people paying attention. You know what? I don't know if you paid attention to. There's a lot of discussion about and the anti-Black Lives Matter movement, and these are black folks that are going after the organization that was established, Black Lives Matter. Like I really wasn't paying attention to this. My understanding, Black Lives Matter to me is an initiative that we all have on the consensus to believe that Black Lives Matter. Ultimately, that everyone deserves the right and opportunities that everyone else seems to have. We need to protect and preserve life, and making sure that someone is not exploited or treated so badly, even killed, just because they're black. So, but recently, there's a lot of discussion about the group who have organized, who actually created the Black Lives Matter as an agency or organization. We're taking in millions of dollars in contributions,
Yes, they were.
and
There's
they
no
were
doubt.
using it. There's a young lady who is being alleged to be blamed. She went out shopping for $1 million houses, and she was really arrogant, like she deserves all this stuff. So I'm starting to recognize a lot more of the stuff, which is crazy, man. But it's sad. It just goes to show you every time there's a form of a movement, there's going to be somebody who's looking for an opportunity to tap into that because they know there's money being
Of course,
funneled
there's
around.
money. Of course, there's money.
Just like the Me Too movement.
Yeah,
The
you
organization.
go under the non-profit status and you rake in the bank.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, they Renee saying that the founder. No, I think what they're doing is associating George Soros. George Soros is a Democratic supportive billionaire who's been involved a lot in the background with political events throughout the United States. Soros is known to be a buddy to the Clintons. Soros has been in background with Barack Obama. Soros has been just an advocate for a lot of different things in the nation. And oddly enough, he supported some things that were Democratic initiatives, and Republicans are having a problem. So he became the boogeyman. So they're trying to say George Soros is the financial backer behind Black Lives Matter, and that was part of the issue a long time ago. And I'm still trying to figure out how did he become the boogeyman when there's other boogeymen that are actively acting like the um oh goodness, there was two brothers who are conservative, and oh god, I'm escaping the name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. They're owners of Home Depot. They're owners of Georgia Pacific. These brothers own a lot of major corporations, and what they do is dump money into local elections, school boards, local municipality elections throughout America to help change certain things to add to their national agenda. One of the things that we're known to have done is changing school boards to decide what type of education, and they're behind now Koch brothers. That's what it is, Koch brothers.
Yeah,
KOCH. The KOCH. Those were known to be boogeymen because they were willing to go to the extent to spend all their money in municipal governments and low-level governments to change things to keep the steamroll. That was very strategic and very intelligent to keep moving, and that empowered them. Them, I can say,
one of those brothers passed away. Just to let you know.
Yeah. The older brother, right. That was 3 years ago. Yeah, and he was probably the biggest asshole out of both of them. But the younger one is not as active as his older brother was because he was very.
They give a lot of money to the Republican Party, like serious.
Oh yeah, big time. The only person or entity that gave more to the Republican Party was the mogul out of Las Vegas. He's a Jewish man who owns a lot of casinos in Las Vegas, and he creates this.
You're talking Alderson. Alderson. He owns the Sands Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that name not necessarily? It's but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. My brother and I we talk about that a lot.
Yep. He the conservative CPAC, that CPAC convention that takes place in Las Vegas every year. He's the impetus behind all that. He creates CPAC. He creates the Conservative Political Action Committee. And he's created this big event where everyone comes out to CPAC, everyone who's looking for financial support, everyone who's looking to support one another. It's a safe haven for people for conservative ideas. They go out there. Then once they're out there, Adelson, what he'll do is he'll get a different hall. He'll sit down with each candidate that he wants to talk to. Then he decides who he wants to dump money in. When he dumps money, he dumps $100 million a top pop to go in there. So he's known to be a financial supporter, just like George Soros. George Soros, I don't think he has that much money because Soros, I know he supports initiatives, but Adelson and Koch brothers were supporting the candidates. So that's crazy. But we see how the machine goes. When the money goes on, the machine continues to go. But the Koch brothers were infamous for mobilizing low level. If I'm not mistaken, there was a series by a activist by the name of, I have the books. Forgive me because I'm turning my back because I have the books, all the books that he's written, and I need to remember his name. I can't remember. It's been so long. He's from Canada, and he had his first film was Fahrenheit 9/11.
You talking about I know exactly what you're talking about. The name's gonna come to mind.
Yeah, he's a real advocate.
Yeah, Michael. His first was Michael. I can't remember the last name.
Yeah, I got his books, and it's a trip.
Yeah, he wrote Fahrenheit 9/11 and a few others.
Yeah. Um, one of the books was
Michael
pretty,
Moore is his name.
huh?
Michael Moore.
Moore, exactly. Well, Michael Moore. Um, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? It's a shame. He exposed he created a film to expose the presence of the Koch brothers in elections when he talked about in Michigan, Flint, Michigan. He
Yeah.
talked about the infrastructure and how they're involved in this stuff and really exposed it. Michael Moore is excellent, really tapping and knocking on doors. When the situation happened with the children getting killed at the school the first time, the most memorable case, which was I'm trying to remember the name of the school.
What, Columbine?
Yeah, Columbine, exactly. He had one of the survivors of Columbine, and they both went together and went to the gun headquarters of the gun makers.
NRA.
No, not the NRA, because he kept looking at NRA, and that was Charlton Heston at the time. And Charlton Heston, you know, crazy Mr. Cocky ass American, gunslinger. He says he was known to say for anybody that try to take the guns is beyond this dead body, that type of deal. Over my dead body. He was famous for saying that, Charlton Heston. But no, when Michael Myers went to, if I'm not mistaken, Smith and Wesson.
Michael Moore, you mean?
Huh?
You said Michael Myers is Michael Moore.
More. Yeah.
Don't worry, I got you.
Thank you. When he went to visit, he took a survivor of Columbine who is permanently disabled and went to if I'm not mistaken, the home base of Smith and Wesson, the fabricators, the major corporation that makes guns.
Yeah.
And to see if there was any correlation, any connection, any sympathy had for the things. And you saw a cold shoulder. It was crazy. Well, Michael Moore was famous for doing that, exposing people for what they do. And
he did the same thing with 9/11.
Yep.
With a lot of the firefighters and the people, who were, in the World Trade and in that area, who was suffering from, end up having a cancerous experience after the fact, from all the asbestos, the whole 9 yards of the smoke, and the dust and the fumes.
Yeah,
he took them across to Cuba to be treated.
Yeah.
And it shows, how much the Cuban people, respect the Americans, to tell you the truth. And it did treat a lot of these people from 9/11.
Yeah. It's sad. Even in that discussion, there's still people. Matter of fact, if it wasn't 2-3 years ago that case had to come back around.
Yeah, I know a few people that was in worked on Wall Street.
Yeah,
that actually was affected by that.
Well, I was once an employee.
She laughing. Michael Moore is from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Michael Myers from Friday the 13th.
Right. And today is Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Ironic.
Right. But I myself worked for Citibank, and Citibank had a partnership with the actual employer that I worked for, and we worked on Wall Street and off Wall Street. I was just injured and came back home 6 months before that happened. I was home and was ready to leave the job I had because of my physical situation, and the new job that I had picked up recently, I'm looking at the TVs that morning, and I saw that when it happened, and all I kept thinking was, damn, and I kept envisioning myself like my friends, all the people I've got to meet and everything. I'm hoping everyone is safe, but then you see I can say millions, so many people that were injured, people jumping off, a whole bunch of stuff. It was really hard to digest, man, for a while. It's sad, but it's one of those type of things. It's still being questioned to this day what truly happened. But I know one thing, there's no question about it. People have died. People are still suffering. Physical damage, long-term health concerns from all the debris and in the air and all the substances that were used in creating the buildings. It's a damn shame. America has been built and built wonderfully with a lot of different materials that are toxic all over the place. I mean, they use everything from airborne things that are if they all of a sudden get fragmented and airborne, like you saw, it causes cancer in the system. You see one of the things, asbestos. Asbestos is a wonderful thing to help with fire retardation. But asbestos, if it becomes crystallized, gets in your system, can create cancer cells inside your lungs. So it's very dangerous. So there's a lot of good technology being used throughout time, but we find out later on that is more bad that outweighs the good. And when it comes to these buildings, there's so many, like here in Atlantic City, there's so many buildings that are antiquated that I question. Even in like City Hall, in our City Hall municipal building here, big old black square cube in the middle of the city. It's antiquated. It's very, very old. And I'm concerned for the employees there because there was a spike or an increased amount of people that I'm noticing that have cancer, or some people have succumbed to cancer who were employees there. And I'm very worried. And I made this known to the BA. I've made this known to the mayor, how we need to do some sort of air evaluation, some sort of study, the substance matters in the walls to see if we're not placing our employees in harm's way and anyone else that visits inside City Hall in harm's way, not knowing, are we actively staying ignorant, or is it true that these substances do exist in an edifice as old as it is? So it's stuff that we got to check in where places that we live. If we live in a home that's pre-1940, which very old. If you live in a home pre-1940, guarantee you have all kinds of substance matters throughout the house, from lead to asbestos to anything else that else could be toxic in your home. It's just part of the technology at that time that was available when you're doing construction. So it's concerns, So, but that's the thing. Are you paying attention? No, I ain't gonna say are you. I know you're paying attention to the Delta variant. You seeing how the numbers are starting to spike up even more so?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the slow moving
Well,
Murphy?
as of today, Texas, I believe Houston, Texas, or is either Houston or Dallas, they ran out of beds for a lot of the miners. Based on what I've heard earlier.
Yep.
And there are individuals, like 4 individuals, that actually passed away from COVID, and they were like in their 20s, and 2 of them were 20 years old. So in Texas, they're like, look, if you have a child that's suffering, that has COVID, we don't have any beds available. We have to wait until someone passes away before we could actually give them that bed.
Yeah. Man, did you see that public serve, that PSA that nurse did and broke down midway? She was asked to talk about encouraging people.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that.
And you saw how her nerves got to her. She's like, I can't do it. I was like, wow, that's hard, man. That's hard. People are just not paying attention to the stuff. I know what's real is what's real. I mean, people are being affected like crazy. I'm getting more and more information, scientific information consistently about what we need to do outside of the normal understandings of 6 feet apart and your hygiene and stuff. But there's other elements that are very helpful. I'm coming to find out vitamin D, obviously, is extremely important for your body. And the more vitamin D you take, the better equipped you are to dealing with a virus of this extent. Your lungs and the capacity of it, you need to make sure that you have the potassium levels, magnesium levels up in your system a lot more to help you manage through stuff. So the more and more I'm learning, the more armed I am to try to protect myself, but it still don't matter because it could be the slightest gesture that can land you in a really hard disposition. Now the discussion you see more is, are we ready for a booster? Like they're really thinking about putting that booster in. They're talking about 2 boosters needed. I was like, so this COVID-19 is causing.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, for them to get out of the 1929, the early pandemic, people have to be vaccinated. And there's no difference with this situation also. We're all a science project in a way. We get it. The body, the fluids, gravity, all of that stuff, affects us. But there's like at the end of the day, you still needs to be vaccinated. I don't, because an individual is not a scientist. An individual is not a doctor. So you can put as much vitamin D, vitamin C, and all of these other vitamins into your body. But if you get sick, like someone said, to an average stay in the hospital on COVID is $75,000. Okay,
Right.
and over 500,000 people. Last time I've checked, is over 600,000 people passed away from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's last time I've checked, and that's recently. Not compared to, whereas the vaccine is free. A lot of people still have a lot of skepticism, thinking, with conspiracy that because my niece is one of them, saying, oh yeah, they might put, chip inside the virus, inside of the vaccine, and put it into your body, and all of these type of things. But at the end of the day, if you get COVID, it's a wrap. Not too many people's body are able to fight it off, because you don't know what your body needs. You have to go to a doctor to find out exactly what you need.
True, but you're not believing COVID-19 is a death sentence.
Well, to tell you the truth, a lot of people don't know to take care of their bodies from the get-go. And at the same time, the immunocompromised type individuals, a lot of more people have passed away than the people have survived it. Let's look at it that way. There goes a balance right there.
I'm not inclined to agree with that.
Okay, well, to each his reach. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has their own form of skepticism.
I think you have an error misunderstanding of skepticism.
Well, it's not an error misunderstanding. I'm just basing it on facts of what I know. So
no, I hear you, but again, this is the anti-skeptic that's talking. You're the anti-skeptic.
Well, my thing is this. Okay, and I want to make this short and sweet. I will make this short and sweet.
Let me continue.
I want to say, like I always say, Mo, it's your life and it's your right. That's my position.
That's not a question. We understand that, but again, you're taking a disposition. Let me continue.
Okay, continue.
You're taking a situation, a stance to say that as if I'm saying, speaking like an anti-vaxxer, speaking of this and everything. I didn't say none of that stuff. When I said take vitamin D3 and all that stuff, because it helps you in addition to, even vaccinated, you can still get COVID-19.
Correct.
Even vaccinated people have died with COVID-19.
Okay, I get it, and I understand that. But the thing, I had the same discussion with some friends of mine from New York yesterday.
Okay.
The same discussion. And some of these guys, they're like, look, like one of them yesterday, he's like, I want to wear my mask to protect myself from you. I says, great. I would love for you to do so, and just keep it up. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
But the thing, like I said, because this topic of discussion, I don't debate anyone on anymore. Not at all. There's no debate here. There's no debate. Not at all.
There isn't. That's what I'm saying.
None. But when you mention, vitamin D, some people will get the impression that if I take all of these vitamins and stuff, and you don't want to, I'm just letting you know how the general public at times will think that, but just by doing these things, it may be able to fight it off. That's what I'm saying. But we don't want to give anyone the wrong impression is what I'm also saying.
I hear you, but don't make widespread aspersions of what you're assuming. Wait. Because I didn't even get a chance to really talk about the D3 concept. I didn't have a chance to. It's just an assumption. I'm saying,
my brother.
To avoid it in the whole nine. And I'm like, I'm not like that, man. We're talking about facts, you're talking about D3. We're talking about most Americans are deficient. What you need vitamin D is to help your body arm itself so it can absorb everything it needs to give yourself the necessary nutrition, just so you can be healthy. That's it. It's not an anti-fighter, this way fighter. That is to help you keep your health up. So that's just the understanding. It's the underlying necessity, regardless of what. You should do these things naturally. Magnesium is another one. Your body is deficient of magnesium. Where do you get your magnesium? Leafy green vegetables. Not everyone is eating leafy green vegetables at a large rate, but we need more of those magnesium. So more people need to really invest in these things just to stay healthy. Regardless if you vaccinate or if you don't, you should do that anyway, because outside of the Delta variant, there's other illnesses out there. And the more healthy you are, the easier you are to deal with things generally. But the truth of the matter is COVID-19 exists. There's no question. And people have died from COVID-19. But as we said before, people have to make an asserted discussion with themselves and agree onto what they want to do, whether it's vaccine or not vaccine. But ultimately, if they don't vaccine, they have to be accountable for how they can impact others. Even the vaccinated have to be accountable how they can impact others. Because just because you've been vaccinated doesn't mean you can't carry the COVID-19 virus. So all those things are being said. We are getting highly sensitive because it's a redundancy that continues. People are so animate. They want to say vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, because that's how they believe. But ultimately, you and I believe the same thing. Whatever your decision is, your decision. Ride or die, right? But what have we been doing from the very beginning? Giving people information. It's not to say pro or con, but give information. If we're giving information, let's continue to give information, right? You've just been vaccinated not long ago. You made the decision, you're vaccinated. I'm in the process to be vaccinated, okay? But you went from being a little, I think let's say,
Okay, stop right there. Let me pause you right there. Okay, because when that's right there where he says, well, you went from, stop right there, pause it, hit the pause button if you can, because now you're taking it to a personal level. So let's not.
Oh no, now forgive me if that's what it sounds like.
I see what you're trying to think right there. I see the bridge.
No,
okay, so let's pause it right there.
Now I don't.
I understand you says, okay, you went from being vaccinated not long ago, and I'm in the process of being vaccinated, but you pause. Hit the pause button right there.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
Your passion is very well warranted. There's no doubt about it. But the information that we actually disperse on this show is to show that everyone has a choice. And that's what you're actually saying. And I enjoyed your passion and actually, translating that information. That's good enough.
And that's what we've been doing, Adrian. But that's what I'm saying. I don't mean to come personal because I always told you I have a respect for you.
Yeah.
Not going to get personal. But look at it from my standpoint. If I'm just trying to give information and you're already trying to pump the brakes, whatever information I'm giving, because you made an assumption.
Okay. When you say you is only you and me.
That's what I'm saying.
You and I.
When
the vaccine first came out, it was rolled out very quickly. The warp speed, the whole 9 yards. I get it.
Right.
Okay. When it first rolled out, yes. I'm like, wait, this thing needs to be studied a little more, and it needs to be, invested a little more in the whole 9 yards. Right. I get all that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I made a knowledgeable decision based on my personal condition.
I agree.
Period. End of story. It is what it is.
I agree. I respect that. Your decision is not in question. It's respected. Your decision is not in question. You understand that, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm not questioning whatsoever.
I know that.
I respect it and I appreciate you. I love you and I want you to be alive and good. I support that.
So to me, because I lost a brother-in-law to COVID. So I know. Okay. And I just lost my best friend to a stroke.
Okay.
And he was like a brother to me, like no one will ever believe. Always had my back. So when it comes down to some of these things, like it says, it's a highly sensitive topic for me because, like I said, I've lost members here.
I totally understand. And I too have lost members and right now still pending. But as you said before, we talked about this before. Even in a situation right now where you may not have COVID-19, there's still a risk.
Well, everything in life is a risk. I mean, going to bed and waking up in the morning is also one. Right. I get it. So
we're talking about more so trying to be proactive. If we can do so, if we can be proactive, right? That's right. Ultimately what we're trying to do. Because God forbid you catch COVID-19, then you have to be reactive. So what we're trying to do is be proactive and preserving our lives. So
something that you mentioned earlier, because we have to actually eat healthy. But you have to remember, during this COVID situation, things have gotten much more expensive. So imagine a lot of the groceries that you would normally buy, it's no longer that. Because everything has increased tremendously because of the shortage, based on a lot of people being out of work and the traveling and workers, the whole 9 yards. So eating healthy is very expensive these days. There's no doubt about that. Because, in the next couple of weeks or months, whatever the case may be, a lot of people are not going to be getting any type of money coming in. And a lot of experts are also predicting another fall of this economy. And I can see that happen because once they pulled away, everybody spoke about the 600. It was propping up the economy. But once that was taken away, everybody went back out to work because they forced a lot of people to go back out to work. Now you have COVID numbers spiking and they're trying to get a grip on it. They said the majority of this country is going under because the numbers are going up tremendously, and we haven't even gotten to winter.
Mhm.
We haven't even crossed the bridge. We haven't even gotten to fall, much less to winter.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a serious, dire situation. I was on other talk show, and it says it's going to be crazy. There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
It's going to be crazy this winter. It's going to be very crazy because remember, now that actually today the federal government actually went ahead and approved, for the booster shots. So a lot of the people who are immunocompromised would actually be able to obtain their third booster shot, and that's what's going on here now. So moving forward, it's going to be hell because, like I said, I have family members who are like, "Hey, look, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm immunocompromised type individual, and I'm going to take the third shot because the second shot is penetrating. The second, these shots, and not to mention Johnson & Johnson is having a problem with their type of vaccine. Johnson & Johnson have always had problems with their products and that they push out. The talcum powder was one of them. The suntan lotion is another one. And recently I've heard they actually moved a lot of people from, dealing with the COVID, hotline to the suntan lotion.
Mhm. Yeah.
So now they're taking calls on the suntan lotion. And, as far as the COVID hotlines, they don't have too many people manning those lines anymore.
Here we go. This is something for you right here. Jeffrey Vasquez, he says hydrochloroquine do work. I would never take the vax. The studies out there, the numbers are bullshit. They're including all coronavirus. Okay. All right, Jeff, I got you.
Teach is reach.
Just don't drink the bleach, bro. Just don't drink the bleach.
Yeah, and watch out for that light. It's a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. But we talked about this, and we're going to continue to talk about it because
it's going to be an ongoing discussion, no doubt.
It's an ongoing discussion, as we said, and it's very important, as we said before, to do what you can to maintain better health habits. And again, as this pandemic, it made it difficult for a lot of people. I mean, life is difficult on a regular basis at times for some people, and it makes it even more difficult when you're restricted or you put under certain circumstances. So whatever we can to make life better, please do so. So I'm going to encourage you to really look into certain factors of your body, to look at, because I'm starting to really myself delve into understanding my DNA make and my chemistry so I can work and create a better diet solution for me to help me with my body, to help me with the structure of my body. Because my DNA may not be, I may not, my system may not be working to its best potential because I'm depriving of one thing and too much of the other. And I want to find out what these things are. I want to try to really tune in and fine tune what it is, because there's times I find myself really in a lull, not enough energy, and I'm eating really high energy food. I don't eat junk. I work, try to do as much as I can, be as active as I possibly can, but I'm still not getting the energy levels. And I know a lot of it has to do with pressure, tension, stress, all the stuff around you, the moon, all the things that can play a factor. But ultimately, my chemistry inside has to be better.
I have my oldest niece, right? She's an RN.
Mm-hmm.
So she believes in, just like what you actually mentioned, with your energy level being low and the whole 9 yards. Get in contact with me, or I'll get in contact with you and give you her number, because she knows how to delve into exactly what you're talking about, because she ran that down to me not long ago.
Cool.
So she'll be able to let you know exactly how to get what you're looking for accomplished.
Okay. Cool. I know I just saw I just stumbled onto a physician. She's a doctor of nutrition and the body and all that stuff. And I can't remember the lady's name. I'll see if I can talk about it a little bit. But
because there's a local doctor around here that does that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll look into that. In her discussion of micronutrients, and I've run into quite a few individuals off and on that talk about micronutrients in your body and your system. And it's just logical stuff that I just didn't put a lot of effort into it that I need to do. And it has a lot to do, some of it working around your blood type, some of it working around the issues that you have, the quality of food that you have, even the circumstances and the atmosphere. So all those things play into it. So because I'm at the point of my life where I have to make sure that I preserve what quality I can preserve in my own life, I'm going to continue to do that because it's necessary, and it's good. Just like we just purchased a Vitamix, right? My wife was like, "You want one?" I was like, "Sure, get a Vitamix. Vitamix is cool to make smoothies and all that stuff." I knew the capacity of Vitamix. I know what it does. I've got a masticator, a juice. I've got a juicer, I've got blenders and all that stuff. I know what to do to eat healthy, and I know what types of foods to eat in some instances. Still kind of questioning because Dr. Sabi says one thing is not good for you. Other nutritionists say one thing is good for you. So there's still a lot of gray area about information. But ultimately, until I find out from my own chemical makeup, my DNA, what would really work better and what doesn't work, maybe I need to work on that. So that's what I'm trying to refocus on to move forward, because that's also going to arm me. Because something that we talked about before is COVID is the reality right now.
Yes,
but
it is.
Something is bigger, something much bigger, more dangerous is around the corner. So I want to make sure that I'm able to manage through whatever's going on now and ready to deal with whatever's going to come around the corner, and try to make sure that my family and everyone else that come around are as equally capable to do so. Because sometimes we sit back in our own comfort zones and we think everything is cool and coochie crunchy. You can do whatever it is, and it's the smallest mistake that you make, and it could be the most harmless mistake that you make, and it takes you out.
The thing about it is, Mo, a lot of people, focus and concentrate on COVID and the vaccine and whatever the case may be, but then they also, at the end of the day, neglect their general health.
Mm-hmm.
I tell a lot of my friends and family members, this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect time to go out there and get those checkups. Get those checkups. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Because you might be worried about COVID, but you might end up with diabetes, a stroke or whatever, God forbid. Get those checkup in there.
And that's what I was emphasizing. Know your status, know how you are.
Yeah, you got to know your body works. You have to know your body works. We're a machine. That's what we really boil down to. God made machine.
Yep.
Machine made by God, the heavenly creator. That's it.
Exactly. It's necessary. Oh man, Renee's on board. What's up, Renee? How you doing?
Renee,
hi everybody.
Hello.
Meet you guys.
How are you this evening? Good to you. How's everything?
Good.
Nice to
I just wanted to.
How's your son?
He's doing well.
Good to hear.
He's doing well.
Good to hear.
I just wanted to say this. I hear you guys talking both sides of the vaccination thing. And I know about the vitamin thing. Now, Mo, that I'm an advocate of natural things, natural food, healing your body, boost your body.
Right.
And I still am like that. I think that comes, if you can do that, you'll probably be healthier than most people. Mm-hmm. But I feel that before people start taking individual vitamins willy-nilly, they need to have blood work done.
Yes.
Because you can compromise yourself if you don't. You can you can really, really hurt yourself or throw yourself off chemically if you're not doing it, if you don't know what you're doing. So people are talking, take this, take that, take this, take that. But some things, when some vitamins you take, you have to take a mineral with them. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to know that you're deficient in those areas before you just start popping vitamins. Because vitamins can be just as bad as popping them other pills if you don't know what you're doing. So they need to get a vitamin Bible and some blood work done.
Correct.
Before they start taking them, and then know what you're doing. And yes, of course, take them and eat as healthy as you possibly can and get vaccinated.
Right.
And I say that I got vaccinated mainly to protect members of my family with chronic asthma. My son has the brain cancer. I'm up in age. I work around children, so I not just to protect myself, but to protect them. And the kids in my family, like some of my grandchildren are not of age to get the vaccine. So the best way that I can protect them is to get myself vaccinated and not bring it to them. So it's a lot of different ways to look at this. I don't think either one of you guys are wrong. It's just that whatever you do, don't half step and do it. get a thorough understanding of what it is you're about to do,
Correct.
and do a little research.
Yeah.
Do a little
Sure.
research so that you don't hurt yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Very good perspective. Very good perspective. There's no doubt about that. You know, like it says, you know, taking too much of one thing is good for nothing.
Yep.
Right.
You know, you can take a lot of magnesium when in actuality you don't really need it. You need something else.
You shouldn't take a lot of anything.
Huh?
You shouldn't take a lot of anything because these are supplements. That means an added to whatever you have. But if you're deficient, you just got to come to the level. But most people are not aware of what the average numbers are, and they have to look upon themselves. And that's just a given that I would assume that people would be smart enough to at least know, understands. You can just pop them.
Oh, no, they're not. I know people who was taking popping vitamin E a few years back, just taking vitamin E. They were so chemically imbalanced, they couldn't even hardly stand up. Yeah. You can't just take things. You have to go get the numbers, get your numbers, and know what you need. And when you take one thing, sometimes you must take it in conjunction with another thing. If you don't, you will chemically imbalance yourself. Yes. Be smart. You know, get on the bandwagon, but be smart. Be smart.
This is why I was emphasizing the vitamin D. The vitamin D, my heart doctor and my internist were basically speaking the same thing about vitamin D. We're so deprived in vitamin D. And vitamin D is a binder, something that opens up our blood cells and our inner cells, and it opens up the mitochondria cells to all the medicines that we seem to be taking. Without them, it makes our body have to work 10 times as hard to get the stuff that we need to get the balance in. So D3 makes it available to you, or makes it easy for your body to be absorbing of these things that you have. I said, I have to take certain medicine. And
but that's also a delicate balance, because some people cannot absorb vitamin D like others, and they end up with sarcoidosis. So you need to get your numbers taken. It's no getting around. Go get the numbers.
Absolutely.
And then take it at what you need. I take 50,000 international units of vitamin D3, but it was prescribed by my doctor after my blood work. And his thing was that a lot of Black people are deficient in vitamin D. Not everybody across the board, but most Black people are deficient in vitamin D. We don't go out and lay in the sun and try to fry and all of that. So we're not getting it naturally.
We're conditioned.
Right. But he did say get 15 minutes, because 15 minutes is all you need each day of the sun to get the proper amount of vitamin D. Right. So I do that, but I take that vitamin D3 because my levels need to be brought up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not just because everybody's saying, oh, take vitamin D. Yeah, okay. Let me check on that. You know what I mean?
So, Renee, a real quick question. So you are, in actuality, are a huge advocate for getting blood work done before you start doing any of these things, and which is very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Very knowledgeable. That's one thing that we left out in the conversation, is getting that blood work done to know where you stand. That's the problem. That's the thing right there. And you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. At one time, a lot of people was to say, drink a lot of water. Water is going to do this. But then after a while, you flush out your system from a lot of important nutrients also at the same time with too much water.
Well, what you have to understand, people are drinking excessive amount of water.
Exactly.
Excessive amounts, because they don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
The water you drink, your kidneys, all that regulate your blood pressure and everything. So you have to know how, like if I drink a glass of water, I know that it takes 5 minutes for that glass of water to reach my colon. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know how long it takes. It's about an hour for it to, the water, like a bottle of water, to process through your kidneys, because you can drown drinking too much water.
Yes, you can.
You can overdose on water. And a lot of people are like, oh, drink water. You see them just drinking gallons of water at a time. They're hurting themselves. They're not helping themselves. They think they're helping themselves, but they're not. You have to do your research and read and know what you're doing so that you do it the right way. If you don't, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, and you can drink a lot of water, but that doesn't necessarily also hydrate you, because the type of water now is pretty much geared to with a pH balance. Just like with me, I drink cold water and I drink essential water based on my condition, so it can keep me hydrated. And that's what it's all about. Because you could go into the sun and you keep drinking regular water, but the pH balance is very low in the average tap water. Obviously,
Right.
because there's chlorine and some of these other things inside of there.
Well,
Yes.
that's the hidden factor that people aren't talking about. You have also a lot of hidden elements in water
The
when
tap
people
water.
thinking they're getting, not only in tap water, because if you look
It's
at
some
where
water
some of the
also.
spring water that people are buying, it comes from a spring that's
Yeah.
not even a spring; it's actually a tap. Someplace
Right.
In the
in
mountains.
right, and it's crazy because you identified it. And you'll see certain name brands, and those are the ones that are easier to identify. The ones that are less likely to give you pure water. Pure water has they have elements and minerals and so on. So pure water actually has these things in it. You know,
Right.
salt, sodium, certain levels because it comes from the earth. It basically they go through a process of enriching and enhancing. Every time you see enhanced and enrich, you have to be concerned about because
Right. That's right.
Yeah, it's
you see
altered.
chlorine, borine, you'll see fluoride, things like this that don't necessarily need to be in this water, but they do it to hide the smell or to hide the other
A lot of
elements.
water is being
Right.
recycled also. A lot of water is being recycled.
Yeah.
That's if they ever get a chance. I had the opportunity to drink water coming up out the ground. I was in Puerto Rico and I was in the mountain. You know the mountain that has the 360 turns. I was up in that puppy right there. And the water was coming out the ground and I was looking at it and my dad said, drink it. So I drank it. It was ice cold and you know how hot it is there. But it was coming out the ground. It was cold. You can taste the difference. And if you ever taste good water, oh my God. If you ever taste good water, you will know bad water every time it touches your lips.
Absolutely.
Every time it touches your lips.
You'll never get that experience, would you?
I washed my face in it and everything. I was like, oh my goodness.
It's naturally enhanced.
Hey, Mo, can I go for a bubble bath in this or what?
Okay.
We all do. I'm not going to scare everybody, but we went up into the Yunque we talked about, the one you're talking about, and we went up into the area in the whole nine, and I did the same thing. I firmly believe I wanted to taste it. I've been into other areas and lakes and streams that were hidden, and I was like, let me taste the water. I mean, you have to be careful too, because certain areas may be tainted from natural elements inside that I'm into, but waters like that where it's constantly purified because it's coming through all kinds of natural charcoal, flint.
Yeah,
all this stuff is coming through the earth, so that you have natural filtration. So when you get to it, you drink that water, you naturally taste. You're like, hold up, this tastes weird. It's weird to you because you've never tasted natural. But
it's so good.
And it's really good. It's very
so good.
And anything that you get that say was I was getting when we went up to El Yunque, going up on that, trying to get up there. You have other vendors that have coconuts and so. I was telling my wife, if you're interested in something like that, drink some coconut water. At least coming from here, it's more natural.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to basically inform them. I said at one point in time in the military, when there wasn't enough plasma or blood, they would use coconut water when they did blood transfusion because it's a natural balance. And when you drink natural coconut from a coconut water, you crack open a coconut, you drink it, it has a balance of sweet and salty because it's naturally balanced. So it gives you the most element of electrolytes, so much, for you. If you're looking for coconut water, it gives you that enhancement, that feeling of really gives you a boost. But it tastes
it tastes nothing like this coconut water that they sell in the stores, though. That stuff is so nasty. It tastes nothing like that.
One, straight from the tree.
You got to get it right out the coconut.
I'm a country guy.
Put the straw in the little holes and drink it right out.
They cut the coconut right there for you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when you crack open a coconut, when you get it more from the source, if you can pull the meat off, and the actual pulp of the meat is a lot easier, more pliable. You can actually eat it off, and it's sometimes
that's what we used to do back in Trinity.
If you get it here when it's mass produced and everything, it's so damn hard to get to the meat, and it's so damn dry.
But Mo, they got a little trick these days. They actually put in the pulp inside of these little containers and say, here goes the coconut milk with the pulp inside of it, trying to make it look more natural than eating it the way it should naturally be eaten.
Yeah, it could be.
I like to get that little pudding that be inside the coconut. You ever get that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now that's delicious.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's actually butter that's been used. A lot of Hawaiians use that for their hair. A lot of Native Americans in tropic areas use it for your hair. So that's that natural butter. I mean, there's so much out of the nature that I said if we had a better farms and stuff like that, we can get so much from them. from the foods that we eat, some stuff that we drink. And my son and I are I'm lucky that I was able to inspire him more, but he finds an interest in different things. We're looking at different things, and he's telling me, "Yo, Dad, did you know you can do this with the peel of a banana? Did you know you can do this with the pits of this and that? Do you know that this and that?" It's like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. Keep enriching yourself.
Science.
That's right.
That's what it's about. Keep them interesting in it. Yeah.
Having that homeopathic.
Oh yeah. I want you to look into that frankincense, Mo. Look into that frankincense.
Oh, the one you just did you hit me up before.
Yeah, but that's not. I got the oil. The oil is expensive. It's like $26 for a bottle this big. But you use like 3 or 4 drops at a time. Put it in an infuser.
Okay.
Put it in an infuser and like just have it in the room when you're in the room. Like if he's in there studying or something like that.
That's what they use in biblical times.
Right, that's what they gave to the baby Jesus, right?
Right, exactly.
But it really, I heard it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it helps you with inflammation. It helps with inflammation. It helps people after strokes, and you have to really, but it's not everything. All the information not going to be in one spot. You got to dig a little bit.
Right.
But it's very. I actually bought some for my son because he kept having seizures because of the swelling. And I bought it for him, and I got the infuser, and he uses it. He says he feels better.
That's good. That's
good. He's waking up better.
That's good information.
I have frankincense. I have rough frankincense that I've had for a while, and it's just like you say. When I light it, it takes a while because it's in a raw form. It's not in a liquid form or nothing like that. But when I do light it, it's a nice, comfortable scent, and it does relax you because you have neurons and senses or something. So it does relax you and chills you out. Sometimes I'll do that with sage and follow up behind it. So you get different. The aromatics are good, but the scent value to be able to give you the medicinal portion of it is something that I look forward to even more so. But yeah, I'm with it.
I used to get it crystallized also, and I would make tea out of it.
Okay.
I would make tea out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah,
myrrh.
Yes, those are the instances from biblical times. There's no doubt about it. Been down for many years. Can't go wrong with that one.
Right.
What we say? People have been doing it for centuries. What's wrong with it, right?
It's in the Bible. You can look it up.
Yeah.
Anytime it costs that kind of money, it's because they're trying to keep you from it.
Yeah.
Just like they did with sassafras. Was it sassafras tea? Yeah, I think it's sassafras tea. They made it so expensive that people don't even really carry it in the store anymore unless they do them little tea bag things. I like the bark. I like it fresh. It was like $16 a pound last time I bought it. Last time I was able to get it.
Right.
But
that's like soursop. Soursop leaves.
Soursop.
Yes.
Soursop, you can't find it.
I know.
U.S. will not allow you to take them. Why? Because the medicinal benefits of it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was going to say there's a GNC or something in Northfield where you can actually order those leaves.
It's a bodybuilding.
The soursop leaves. It's hard to get the fruit. Yeah. It's hard to get the fruit because the tree only bears fruit twice a year, and it only grows in tropical areas. And we get it up here.
Yep.
You got to get it, and you got to use it right away because if you don't, it's going to mold. So, because I was trying to get it fresh, it was so difficult, but
it is. I was going through it. My mother was going through a scare of cancer, and I was on high alert to try to get as much soursop as I could. You can find a plant every once in a blue moon, but the one thing that had the most the carcinogenic, anti-carcinogenic elements is in the leaves by making teas. So that's why I went looking for that. That's when I found out. It's illegal in one aspect because they don't know how to monitor it. They don't really how to put a handle on it. Anytime it's homeopathic natural medicines, you're going to find all kinds of barriers because there's money can't be made from the FDA and other stuff. So it makes it hard. But if we can find it, trust me, that's an element.
Yeah, I researched that soursop or guanabana, whatever you want to call it. I researched it, and they found out this was I think in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, that it does have properties in it that cure cancer, and because they couldn't synthesize it, they couldn't make it a man-made thing. They couldn't make money off of it,
Right.
because they can't do that with stuff that comes from the earth. They
Right.
put all the studies and everything on the shelf and just forgot about it, left it there, never said nothing to nobody.
Yep.
Yeah, I've questioned my doctor about something like that, because my sister is like, just like yourself, Renee. She's highly into, her daughter is an RN, and the mother is, is highly, into a lot of the herbs and that type of stuff. I tell you, like, you won't freaking believe, and at one time, my sister says, Adrian, with your condition, being a type 2 diabetic, in order to lower your blood sugar, you need to put some cinnamon in your food, because that will lower your blood pressure, blood sugar. And I asked my doctor, says, you guys know about this? He's like, Adrian, we don't make money off of cinnamon. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even bother to get into that. But it works, because when I was in the hospital, I actually tried exactly what my sister did. And I had to call the nurses out, because my blood sugar went down so low, we had to get it back up.
Yeah.
Right.
And
because the treatment is the money is in the treatment, not in the cure.
Exactly,
so they drag their feet along with everything. So the money's in the treatment. And these pharmaceutical companies are powerful. You talking about the NRA, these pharmaceutical companies, they are powerful.
Yes, they are.
And they will fight against anything that really works coming out. You ever notice if they find something, we're using this new treatment for cancer, these trees, now they're growing them in California, but they only let you use it for ovarian cancer. Why can't, if it cures cancer, it's cancer. So why can't we use it across the board to see if it helps us even?
But like you said, it's all about the dollars. It's all about the Benjamin.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah.
It's all about the Benjamin. Because I noticed something also. I've been to the supermarket, and the actual vanilla extract has gotten so expensive. It's like freaking unreal. As a matter of fact, if you go across to say ShopRite and ask them for vanilla extract, they put it in a case, whereas they have to get a key to unlock the vanilla extract to give it to you.
Yeah.
You just can't pick it off the shelf, because it's so expensive. It's like a little bottle will cost like $13 or so.
Yeah, a little bottle. You're right.
A little bottle. Because I saw on the news they've gotten very expensive with something that simple, that people at one time used to just walk up and take off the shelf. You can't do that anymore. They lock it up.
It's somewhat on the same level of saffron. Saffron is the most expensive spice in the world, and it's a small little hint that it. But if you go places like Pakistan, they do it in abundance. You can have it. Where vanilla only grows in 2 regions of the world, and Africa, Mozambique, is where the most African, the biggest emphasis of vanilla comes from. The beans are grown in Mozambique. And in India has synthesized some parts of it, but you're not going to see it in large levels and everything, because again, they're controlling it. Now, is it the fact that the shell or the bean itself has a health component to it that's involved in respiratory illnesses? This is some of the, remember I told you, I think his name is Dr. Campbell. Dr. Brian Campbell is the guy I catch every once in a while, who does studies out of the UK of different interactions of medicines and how things are affecting people. And he was able to talk a little bit about that. And I was just, when you mentioned cinnamon, and when all I kept thinking was, you never know the different things that we have readily available, how it impacts or affects other people. If you know from a homeopathic way, like, when you're talking about salt is probably one of the most dangerous components that exist, but it's also sugar, things that we need.
Sugar also is right. Sugar industry is so freaking phenomenal. It's like unreal. If you go down to Florida, a lot of the lakes, the lake in that area were affected by a lot of the sugar mines that they were, putting into the water. Now the water is actually turning green, with a whole lot of algae and the whole night, and that's from the sugar that they manufacture. And it's huge. Obviously, all the bakeries and everything, we eat has sugar in it.
Yeah.
So sugar is like a deadly component that we take, and salt, like it says.
Yeah.
Looking at,
but it's not that refined sugar though. It's real sugar. Raw sugar, which is better for you. Another thing that's good for you is you ever hear of the moringa tree?
Yeah.
Okay, with the moringa tree, you can eat everything on the moringa tree except the roots.
Yep.
And it's all beneficial. The flowers, the leaves, the bark, it's all beneficial. And I do that too.
Popular with tea. The flowering pods of it, I know in India and in some of the Southeast, use moringa sometimes to help with chronic headaches and stuff like that. They'll do a tea. Like I watched this guy, this wilderness cook, and he uses moringa in a tea all the time. And I, you know, I was trying to figure out why does he do that. And apparently, there's chronic headaches and so on and so forth. So moringa
Also,
is great.
yeah. Also, you can pulverize the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Pulverize the leaves and mix them with like kiwi and lime, and eat it right off the spoon. Very good for you.
Yeah.
I get the oil. The oil in a bottle this big is like $30,
Yeah.
but it goes a long way, and it's real good. I notice it's really good for your skin. It's good when you put it in your hair. It's good for inflammation. Just rubbing it on, it's good. So I do a lot of that
opinion on
stuff.
something also. What is your opinion as far as apple cider vinegar? Because I see a lot of people, you know, actually infusing apple cider vinegar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that you got to be careful with apple cider vinegar, but I will take shots. I will take shots of apple cider. I can take it raw like that. I don't need to mix it and not boop. One shot.
There's a saying, you know, it's an apple a day keeps the doctor away, because the fibers themselves helps your body to cleanse. And vinegar,
it's the pectin.
Yeah,
it's the pectin in the apple cider vinegar that comes from the apple. The other vinegars take it out, but they leave it in this vinegar.
Vinegar is an agent that creates a lot more electrolytes in your system, so it changes the acidity in your system. So as they say, if you have apples and acidity, it helps your lower intestines. So it's a great thing. When everyone was pushing Bragg's apple cider vinegar, I was like, why Bragg's? And it's Bragg's this and everything. If you look at it and the way things are going, it's like, I guess for some people, as we talked about this earlier, how it depends on your chemistry. Because when some, you can take it and it can probably give you some feelings of rejuvenation, and you go to the bathroom more often, whatever. And in some cases, it actually makes you feel anxious because it doesn't work with your chemistry. So
but some people overdo everything. They think more. Sometimes less is more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like sometimes less is just more. They are overdoing everything. You don't need to do it like that. If you take the Bragg's bottle and you're looking at the bottom, it's always sediment down there. Yep. You have to shake that up before you use it, so it goes all the way through, and you getting even amounts of everything. That's the pectin that settles in the bottom of the bottle. So no, I don't say drink it all day long I see people getting water and they drink a whole. Listen, all you need is a tablespoon. So I get a tablespoon and I just take it. I don't have to drink a whole bottle of it, put it in my water and be sipping vinegar all day. No.
Because all they really doing is trying to change the acidic levels in your body. Because once you get that balance, you still feel a lot better anyway.
Yeah, but once again, I guess it goes back to what Renee said earlier. You got to get the blood test to know exactly where you stand. You know,
but in speaking
of science is concerned.
Right, but in speaking of that, you have to be exact when you're speaking to your physician, because you can go in and you can ask for a blood test, but they're very specific.
Correct.
They'll give you the most vanilla blood test possible. You have to ask them to do a specific enzymatic protein value, and I think it's the 3 levels. You got to check for enzymes, proteins, and you have to check for, I think it's I forget. I not long ago I had to do a similar test. Because I'm at that point at 50 years old, you got to take that and colonoscopy and all that stuff. So my doctor had basically suggested, he's like, make sure you emphasize this when you give it to them, because I'm gonna give you a prescription. But if they don't pay attention, they just don't give you the plain vanilla. Out so much to it because there's a lot more.
My doctor has a form, and he'll check the boxes that he wants you to get. Well, when I get outside in my car, I check all the boxes. So when so when I get there, I get tested for everything. Don't play with me.
I heard that.
I check all the boxes.
I heard that.
Doctor says, I never ordered this.
Hey, I go to Dr. Kupani, and I really
I go to him too.
Yeah,
but he knows me very well. I already told him. I said, listen. First of all, you know who I am. Don't be trying to pump me full of pills, because I'm not going to take them. Don't order them. Right. I don't want anything that I don't need. Don't give it to me.
Exactly.
We're going to go the other way with me. He wanted to put me on potassium because I was having cramps in my legs. I said, why? I can get potassium through my food. Let me eat it first.
Yeah. You know what's good? You know what's good for that? You know what is something that's really good for that? For muscle cramps and stuff? Huh?
Bananas.
Kiwi?
Nope. Pickles.
Oh, really?
Pickles. Yeah.
Pickles.
Because my girl, exactly. Every time she was suffering from some serious leg cramps, and I did some research, Dill pickles, and she will hit the fridge, and every time we go food shopping, it's on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try that.
And it knocks it. You see, because there are certain things on the list. The highest one is pickles. The second one is bananas. Then the next one is mustard.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why when you go to delis and stuff, they put the pickle or they put the mustard on some of the sandwiches because it helps balance, the potassium in your body from actually having cramps and stuff. That's the reason. Pickles are the best one. That's why they tell a lot of pregnant women to eat pickles also.
Yeah.
I get the kiwi has like 375 milligrams of kiwi of potassium.
It will take that cramp in your leg or your arm away instantaneously.
I love pickles.
Yeah.
You ain't said nothing.
I didn't like it as much because one night I'm like, holy smoke.
It's like,
and she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm having myself a pickle. You know what I'm saying?
And it's crazy because if you need a condensed value, it's the juice.
The thing about it is, a lot of athletes in sports now, they've just recently come to discover that pickles will take away the leg cramp or the arm cramp. So that's what they're using as sports medicine in the college now.
So something more natural. Yeah, something more natural. All of that. Yeah. Everybody want to give you a pill. I'm not taking pills.
There's always a good substitute for the problems that you're having with your body. Because who would ever thought pickles would actually take away your body cramps?
I never knew that, but I'm going to try that. I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to try that.
We send a thank you to the ancestors from Guinea-Bissau that apparently are the first picklers on the continent that brought it over to this side of the planet.
Well, they did a good job.
Well done.
But again, it's one type of stuff. They knew what they were doing eons before everyone else. Before
you just grab yourself a pickle and just go to town on it. That's about it. And by the time you finish that pickle, it's gone. It's crazy. I'm like, this is my girl will tell you, it's like freaking science. Like, I'm like, wow. And you don't have to take any pills, run for aspirin or none of that stuff. A pickle is totally natural.
Because those potassium pills are about this big.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's a horse pill.
They had her on. They had all the potassium pills, and I says, take a pickle. Try this. I said, I did some research, and it works phenomenally. Just like no different from like with the cinnamon. In the morning, your blood pressure after you having a breakfast will increase. My endocrinologist said so. But what I would tend to do is to have my breakfast, but I put cinnamon on top of it to actually lower and take my meds, along with it, and it brings down my blood sugar.
There's so much natural medicine in a lot of the stuff that we eat, as long as it's good quality. Because another fact that I kept remembering is the old school way. A lot of elders, females, used to say if you run into a headache or a pain that wasn't throbbing yet, put a little bit of natural nutmeg under your tongue, and it would relieve the pain. Natural pain relief. We have cinnamon itself. Talking with cinnamon, if you have cardamom, which is the bark itself. If you have a cardamom bark and you put it in your mouth as you're chewing, it actually just gives you the euphoria that you need if you have a headache or something else. That's relax. It's the cinnamon.
But at the same time, you see some of these kids on YouTube want to have the cinnamon challenge. I said that is crazy, insane, in the brain many times over.
That's
it will suffocate the hell out of you. It will burn your lungs and everything from working.
Stupid.
Now they're setting their mouths on fire.
Stupid. There's always some sort of
the worst freaking thing. It will throw your body, your body chemistry. Even if you get into your body, it will lower your blood sugar levels so dangerously low.
Yes.
To get it back up, it's going to be like a really hard task.
Something
911 you have to call definitely.
Right. Something that's actually being now looked in a little bit more is there's a grapefruit. There's a type of grapefruit that has the ability to lower your blood vessels, your blood pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to.
But they'll tell you. That's why they don't want you to take your blood pressure medication with grapefruit juice. They'll tell you don't do that.
Right, because it'll go even lower.
So why not just drink a glass of grapefruit juice every day?
Exactly.
Well, you can have yourself a nice grapefruit. Better yet, cut it in half and take a spoon and you go to work on it.
And eat. That's it. Yeah.
That's how we did it in the country back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very simple. I grew up in the country, and we believe in a lot of the herbs and the medicine, and that's how I grew up at my grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you needed to add a little sweetness, put natural honey on it, and you have
Right.
another level of healing. You got biometric healing on the
But
inside.
you have to remember, with honey also raises the blood sugar level, because sometimes the honey that you buy in the store in that little beer is not really honey; it's a lot of sugar.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
If
I
it's
don't
natural,
use that. I don't
natural
use
honey,
that.
I want
Yeah,
to.
I
you
have
gotta go to one of them farm stores
Look
and get a natural honey with
the local.
with the
Yep.
comb
yeah,
in it.
Yep.
With the
With the
honeycomb
actual.
in it. I
exactly. Yeah.
use
Yeah.
well, I don't use it all the time. I just take it off the spoon. Is Manuka honey.
Okay.
It's like $30 for let me show it to you if I can find it. It's $30 for a jar of this honey, but this honey has a lot of medicinal properties. You can actually put it on a wound and it will heal the here it is.
The Egyptians used to use honey to do that because it's
Can you
antimicrobial.
can
Wow.
you see it?
Raw Manuka honey. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Ancient
use that.
Egyptians, Imhotep used to write. They had scribes of using honey for any open wounds because it was an antimicrobial, an
Right.
antihistamine, and there's another anti something in it. But
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Matter of fact, crazy. My pet had an issue on his hand or on his hands on his
I
paw.
get it on its paw.
He had an open wound on his paw, and instead of taking him to the vet, I said, you know what? Let me try this. I had some raw honey that we just recently got from a farm out there in Cowtown. Got some raw honey, put it on him. He may have licked it once or twice, but it was still there. In a day or two, it was fully healed and closed up. I said, there you go, honey for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in this situation, like my son has Crohn's disease, right? So when Crohn's disease, when it starts to flare up, it's basically the inflammation, the end zones of your body, the lining of your intestines. So what I did was I had green tea, natural green tea, because it alleviates the sensation of pain, but he also has the honey. So he drinks the honey and it helps alleviate. It actually brings it down. The swelling comes down in the whole nine, so it helps him. Natural elements to help him. So,
Right.
We won't feel it yet, but it helps.
That's why I was saying, show that thing that I sent you, Mo. They said that it has been proven to actually reverse that disease. Something like 84% of the people in one study and 90 something percent of the people in another study, something like that. But it that's why I said let me send this to him and see if he has any interest in it. But I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, I'm definitely linking into it. But as I was
They
saying,
also
no, you saying
they also have diets now based on your blood type.
Exactly.
Based on your blood type. I'm trying to get one for my blood type. They didn't have any in the store that day. They just had like the A, B, the rare ones.
Okay.
But they have you can go in there and actually pick up a book. I think the book is like $8.
Okay.
For to see, that's it. To see what you could how you should be eating. I already know right off the front they're going to tell me no dairy. I have more sinus issues than the law allows. So I know they're going off the top they're going to tell me no dairy. I know that. But I can't wait to get the book.
I hear you. But I want to do a forensic study on my blood. I really do. It's just making sure that I go through the right things, because even like the blood clinics and the labs here, they don't necessarily doing a thorough job. You got to make sure you get the right one.
Yeah.
You get the whole
information. Doctors tend to do that. There's certain types of doctors that will actually, go to the extent and let you know whether or not you're short of magnesium or vitamin D or whatever the case may be, here and there.
Yep. That's what Kupani used to do. He'll look at a blood test and be like, yo, you're not eating this. You're drinking too much of this and so and so.
Right. Yeah.
You're an internist.
That's my doctor. That's the one I check all the boxes on his form. I check all the boxes. And when I go in there, I say, okay, now how's my daughter doing? This is what I want you to do for her. And she's not listening to me. So I want you to tell her this is what she has to do every day. My nephew goes there. I get them all. I get them all.
Everybody go there, huh?
Yeah.
They don't even know I'm getting them. I'm going right behind their back, getting done what I want done.
Yeah. And Dr. Kupani, I love that man, because when I had a situation when I had AFib and I'm in the hospital and they're reevaluating my heart and everything, He snuck in there at 3 o'clock in the morning, was
Mhm.
sitting by the side of my bed, just looking at me. And then I
Mhm.
opened my eyes and I saw him. I was like, Doc, what you doing there? He's like, yo, nobody told me you was here. Come to find out you're here. I'm like, I'm here. I'm checking you out. You okay?
Mhm.
And he
Yeah,
started talking.
he's cool.
Yeah, I got a love for him, man. But I love the fact that he works from the inside. So he works from your
Mhm.
blood. You know what I mean?
Right.
I really appreciate that because, other doctors like, okay, go take this pill, take that
Mhm.
pill, and that's it. And he's like, nah, if we can find a different way of doing it, let's check this out. But, check this
Mhm.
medicine and that
Not
medicine.
all doctors are alike, that's for sure.
Yep.
You know,
Especially
and you
if he
get paid.
knows.
Yeah, you get paid to keep you alive, so you got to make sure you got a good
Mhm.
doctor. It's very
Right.
important.
Especially when he knows that you're more inclined to do things naturally.
Yep.
He's going to try to help you that way first.
Yep.
Okay.
Or I tell him, I said, nope, I'm not taking that. Let me do this. Let me try this first. I'm gonna try to tweak the way I'm eating
Yep.
to get rid of this problem. I don't want that test yet. And he'll say, okay, I'll give you this long and I'll go do it. And if not, I got to do it the other way. But most of the times I win.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You checkmate every time, huh?
What?
Checkmate every time.
Yeah. I'm sorry about
Oh
that.
boy.
My dog was going through a seizure. He has epilepsy. Little dogs like that have
Oh.
epilepsy. So he's going through epileptic seizure. I had to call my son to relax him a little bit, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
Yeah, little dogs having epilepsy. Yeah.
Oh.
But it is what it is. But you know what? It's really healthy. I love having good conversation about eating healthy and doing better because it's not always about the cheeseburgers and the cheese fries.
No.
When I was younger, if we can be healthy, and live longer and live more prosperous, our life gets more enriched. And that's just so important. So I really appreciate Renee. You've always been sending
Oh
me
yeah, definitely.
messages on the inside. Try this, try that.
I love your insight. I love your insight.
I love you for that. You know what I mean? And my man Adrian staying healthy. He's an example, epitome of what it is to stay healthy.
Who ever thought a face like this would be 57?
Exactly.
You should see my son, and he has cancer.
Uh-huh.
He's the healthiest thing. I put his picture up every now and then so people know he's good. He's the healthiest thing. When his son found out he had it, he was like, "But how? He's the healthiest person I know." But he's so healthy. He does the Dr. Sebi.
Okay.
And he has me making him greens. He wants kale, collard, dandelion greens, which I used to put in our salads, and cabbage, all in the same, and it's delicious. Who knew? I never cooked them before. I always ate the dandelion leaves raw in a salad.
I can't find dandelion. Where you?
Out on the Black Horse Pike,
Uh-huh.
at the produce store that's across from Home Depot.
J&K?
M&S. I think it's called M&S.
Yeah,
Okay.
They have dandelion leaves, and the beets. They have the beets with the shoots on top, so you get the beet greens.
Okay.
Which are very good for you. I make omelets out of them.
Okay.
I do everything.
I got juices. Like I said, we just got a Vitamix, and my wife is starting to get interested again in some of the things we've been pushing. Even my son. So the kale, the collards, the chard, the ginger, the leaves, and then. But one of the things that I've been looking for is dandelion greens. And
they have them.
Yeah, because I've been telling her. I said there's so many plants that produce flowers, and the flower itself are tasty. Wonderful, great foods, and it looks real nice to eat. You know what I mean? And I keep telling her, I said we're gonna go into Central America and get our food on, eating vegetarian over there, because they'll cook some food you never know is vegetarian, and they'll be killing wonderful flavors, of natural stuff they just pick off like right behind the house.
Just in case anybody needs to hear it, my son, he, like I said, he's on the Dr. Sebi diet. He didn't lose any weight doing his chemo and radiation.
Oh, that's
in fact,
great.
he lost a little bit in the beginning before he started. Then he started, and he went back to 210 pounds. His weight stays good.
Wow. So
his weight stays good.
No,
and he said
cells. Wow.
No. He said the trick is to keep. I told him don't eat no sugar, none. So, but he said the trick is to get all the mucus out of your system. That's what Dr. Sebi is about. Getting that mucus out. The mucus causes all your problems.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yep. And that's
but I just Oh,
You
I'm
talk
sorry.
about mucus and talk about when earlier we talked a little bit about the sinus infections and so on and so forth. Like
Mm-hmm.
cow's milk, we were funneled with cow's milk, not thinking the damage it does to our body. And
Mm-hmm.
my mom to this day, she's like, she got to have milk and so on and so forth. And I'm like, you got asthma. Why were you drinking milk? It don't help
Mm-hmm.
that you smoke too, but we stopped drinking cow's milk a long time ago.
Not me. I can't drink no other kind.
Yeah.
That I can't take the taste. But I don't drink milk that often anymore. Like as a kid, I did over and over and over and over. But I drink uh in cereal. I might have it in cereal, but that's about it. Or if I
Yeah.
have some Oreos, but that's about it. Other than that, I don't really drink a lot of milk. Like drink a glass of milk all the time, a glass of milk, or a glass of milk with my meals. I don't do that anymore. So
I keep
um
I keep oat milk, and my
yeah,
son.
that's what my son is drinking.
Yeah, my son used to like almond milk, but when I
Yeah.
start learning how much water it takes to make almond milk and using cashew milk, I was like, oh, hold up, we need that water. We need the
Yeah,
water.
but look,
I drink like
not only
the
that,
milk
it
that I
kills the
drink is like,
bees.
huh?
They killing bees by the swarms to make this almond milk
Mhm.
because they need the bees to pollinate the trees and they're overworking the bees. And
Yeah.
you can go out there and it's dead bees everywhere.
Mhm.
Wow.
So I don't drink no
And
almond
if you
milk.
kill the bees, they can't make the honey. And if they can't make the honey, it's gonna be expensive. There it is.
They can't
There's
But
pollinate.
if they
there's
don't
a chain
pollinate, we
reaction.
don't eat.
We
If
don't
they
eat.
don't pollinate, we don't eat because they
Yeah,
pollinate everything that we eat.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not messing with them.
And people don't
Yeah.
recognize how simple, how fragile our ecosystem is.
Yes, it is.
How we need
Hmm.
the bees.
Yeah, but get a load of this, Mo. A lot of people are not paying attention to this one because you remember the tsunami that happened in Japan, and you
Hmm.
had a lot of the nuclear silos that actually was flooded.
Oh,
Well,
really?
what Japan is actually contemplating now, in order to get rid of some of you know the those toxic water from those silos, is to actually empty it into the ocean.
Yeah, the flush.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're thinking about emptying all of that. So China and the surrounding nations says, no, we don't want you to do that.
The
And
red.
No,
Japan
I don't
says,
think
"Well,
that's a good
get rid of all
idea.
of this water. How are we going to get rid of all of this toxic water? They just want to put it into the oceans. But that's where a lot of countries get their fish from.
Yeah.
So, you put the toxic water in there and the fish going to actually die, and the people going to follow right after the fish because they're going to kill
Right.
everything in the freaking water. Because you
That's
remember when
right.
that tsunami happened, a lot of, cars, trucks, and all of that stuff ended up in the Pacific Ocean, and it was
Hmm.
washing ashore on Hawaii and
Hmm.
California.
Right.
So you have to look at that pattern of that stuff happening again. Japan deeply wants to empty those things into the ocean.
Well, remember what happened with Fukushima when you had the meltdown. When the meltdown took place, and they had all the issues with the high levels of radiation because of Fukushima
Correct.
going into
Radiation water.
impacting all the sea life that was going on in the northern Pacific. I mean, people were having a fit because, again, like people in Japan that need a heavy diet and seafood and stuff like that, and other
Hmm.
areas of the country,
Hmm.
they're ripping it up. But it's fragile. It's very fragile. It's very
It,
fragile.
yeah, it's a balance. They're upsetting the balance in the
Yeah.
ocean. I mean, they really upsetting the balance in the ocean. It's ridiculous.
I'm kind of upset right now, but there was something I had just stumbled onto, and I was watching a special about natural herbology, and I was watching something, I think it was a TED talk, and there was someone who was talking about an element that is readily available, and I can't remember where, and I want to say it's not the baobab tree, but there's a nut that comes off of one of these trees that is hard to find, and it's only found in like South Africa. This nut has a component inside. If you put it in your simple, it works in anti-radiation in your system. It helps to extract radiation levels in your system.
Hmm.
Like whatever damage that radiation does, it helps to attack the radiation for some odd reason. I was like, how is that not being used with all the people that have had radiation disease and the different illnesses, or people have to fight cancer using radiation,
Hmm.
the macular degeneration that it happens, and so
Hmm.
it should be readily available to everybody. I was like, and they just stumble onto it. Like,
The
wow,
money is in the medicine, like Renee said. The money is in the
Yeah.
medicine.
there's so much
Yeah.
out there.
Look, they could actually come up with a vaccine and everything for COVID real quick, but still, they still haven't been able to do anything about cancer. They're still trying to pump some money into trying to find new research
Because That's because they have the cure for cancer already. They're just not ready to share it.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be leaked out because they're not ever going to share it because it's too much money. Look at everything, all the money that's made in those pills. My brother had cancer. He died from it. And his prescription ran out of something. And we had to go get his pills from the pharmacy. One of those pills is $10,000.
Wow.
One pill.
That's crazy.
That's obscene.
And the insurance companies and stuff, like you said, it's all in the hook. It's a hook. It's all in the hook. The pharmaceutical company makes a substantial amount of cut a deal with the insurance companies.
Yeah.
Cuomo was saying on TV. Go ahead.
And it starts right in Congress.
Yeah. A lot of politicians are in the pockets of a lot of these pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, lobbying. Mm-hmm.
I found some information around 1976. There was a large push to try to integrate world medicine into the United States because there's so many high level of physicians coming from the Caribbean islands, from Cuba, master level healers, and they were coming in. They weren't getting accredited coming into the United States because United States FDA was suggesting if you can't use American-made synthesized medicine,
that's what
a healing agenda, then we're not going to give you certification.
So exactly, I saw that.
That's right.
1976 is when they started.
They only certify, or I maybe you know where I'm going with it. They only certify accept certain
I think she just.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah, we lost the feed on that.
Yeah, Adrian, hopefully come on. But when I raged on in 1976 about that because of the influx, there was so many medicine, so many doctors coming in, and this is crazy. After there's a war, there's always an influx of new doctors coming in that absorbed by Americans because germ warfare. World War I, World War II, you saw a lot of Nazi Germany and then lots of other doctors that were part of the opposition per se were starting to take it in, and they were masterful in what they did. World medicine is beyond our understanding here in America, and it's sad because we're so antiquated. Even in Canada, some of the levels of education that's available in Canada for the doctors there at a higher level than here. And I know some of these doctors here, they know better, and they get frustrated because they're limited.
Like I said, but when you go to med school, it's all about the money. Because remember, a lot of these doctors have to pay off those student loans.
Oh, big time.
And they're huge. They're huge.
Right. And then the thing they did with their insurance.
So you have to try to figure out a trick in order to make money. You got to figure out
malpractice. Their malpractice insurance is over the top.
Yeah.
So they're trying to earn enough money to do what they got, and doctors should be well paid. But my understanding is the best doctors in the world is in Cuba.
Yep.
That's the reason why Michael Moore took a lot of the people from 9/11 to Cuba to be treated for some of the cancerous, debris that they inhaled from 9/11.
Right.
It's amazing. If you ever deal with a nationalist or someone from Cuba recently who's just, a little bit in the know, it's amazing how much confidence they have. Like you say some stuff over here and you say, oh shit, I caught this and so on and so forth. They're like, that ain't nothing. Just put this, that, this, and that because they've been aware of it. They're so much more advanced because they're homeopathic medicine and they're knowledgeable about it. That average people know how to heal shit that we're sitting up there falling apart on. They're not concerned about it. You talked about cancer; they've healed it already.
Oh, no, America is a money machine. And for you to be a doctor, when you come to the United States or whatever the case may be, you have to be recertified again to be a doctor. So you have to try to get in on the scheme that's going on for many, many years. You have to try to fit yourself in.
What's they saying?
If not, they're not going to give you a license over here.
What's that whole concept? I'm not going to let you eat until you make sure I can eat first.
Exactly. Yep. It's the hook. Like I've always said, the system isn't broke, it's fixed. And that's just the way it is. It isn't broke, it's fixed.
Exactly. Right. Fixed. You're right.
You're right. I agree with that, Adrian. 100%.
That right there is a golden statement right there. It ain't broke, it's fixed.
It's fixed. Exactly. Yeah. Everything from the top down is fixed. It's everything. If you look at, even if you look at the housing, if you look at everything, is fixed. The whole system is rigged. And the thing about with Trump, when he came around, he showed how rigged the whole damn system is because he was about to bring the whole damn thing down.
Right.
He was about to bring the whole freaking thing. Racism He didn't get him because of racism. Racism had always been here, but it's just that he
Right.
put it on the forefront of his agenda.
He
You
didn't
know,
know that.
He used it
yeah, he
Rolled
did.
that
to his advantage.
Yes, he did. He was the Pied Piper of racism.
Right.
Yeah.
America took God out of everything, out of the schools. You can't say God, but you can go there and you can say Buddha, Allah,
Yeah,
but you can't say God.
God
They took
forbid.
God out of everything. And the nation is crumbling because of it.
But
Because
Renee,
you can't, because they're after money. You can't worship God and mammon. So
yeah,
you
but
got to give something
yeah,
up. They chose to give up God.
but if you look at the money, what's the first thing it says on there?
And God, we
In
In
trust.
God
God
we
we
trust.
trust. Yeah, but do we
Yeah.
really? No.
Remember, it's the understanding of which God are we talking about. You know
Ain't
what I
but
mean? Are
one
we talking about
God.
the one supreme God, the only one God there is, or the God that they have?
Omnipotent.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
their God is money.
Yeah, and
So
they worship it. You know,
right.
a lot of the barons and some of the financial genius, as you will call some of these guys who are rip-off artists on Wall Street, they worship one God, and they will tell you, you know, yeah, we trust in God, but God is the presidents, the dead presidents, on the money.
Right.
That's what
Right.
they worship. The more of
Yep.
that, the better it is for them.
Yep.
And that's how they function. That's how everything in this country is geared toward that. Is geared toward that.
Yeah,
Everything.
When we have more than when it's bad because it's the God that you serve ultimately, right? So when they're talking about the God that you serve, if we're godly people, we should be serving God by doing more what God would intended. And we're talking about health, natural health and stuff. That's what God intended. He's given us the tools and the elements by providing us all these things. We've learned it along the way. It's doing it. It's when it's synthesized for the prosperity of financial wealth, which that's the God of money that they're doing, and they're trying to get us to keep feeding their God because our God is greater.
Right.
You know, our God is more inclusive. More
And when you bulk, they come for you hard. Just they that's why they set that Amazon forest on fire. Because they know a lot of natural cures is in there. The guy made a cure for everything. There's a cure. It
there's a
comes right
natural
out the
cure.
ground somewhere.
There's a
They
natural
know
cure.
that.
There is a
They
natural
know
cure.
that.
And a lot of the stuff is coming up, like I said, from the Amazon jungle. If you look at
Yep.
the Amazon, a substantial amount of cures. That's the reason why they're trying to cut it down and raid it. You have a lot of tribes that are still living in the Amazon jungle.
There's a specialist I saw just yesterday. He was talking about the Amazon is in essence 750,000 miles, square miles of uncharted territory, uncharted land. 750,000 uncharted miles of and we're talking about things, vegetation, animals, things that we've never seen before, still can't see because it's so
Right.
thick, it's so dense.
Right.
They're looking at this thing called Black Terra, right? Or Terra Negra, which is Black Earth. They're trying to figure out how is Black Earth so productive in the Amazon because it's now the most fruitful, most fertile land. But they're trying to check out how do they do it. So it's a science behind it. It was crazy how much information, how much stuff is going on.
Let me tell you what they did.
Mhm.
They burned down areas in the forest and they allowed this orange juice company to take all their peels and dump them in the forest. What they didn't know is that the oranges was going to fertilize the land and those burnt out places, and they only got certain places that they can do. Well, growing up, within 2 years, the forest was coming back. Within 2 years, the forest was coming. I'm waiting to see when they're going to stop them from doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. The Earth
Because
is
the forest was growing itself back like that.
yeah.
Wow.
Mother Nature's fixing everything. Just like while we're doing a pandemic, what happened with the ozone layer? The pandemic happened, and the ozone layer all of a sudden started repairing itself.
Exactly, it started healing itself.
Mother
We
Earth.
stopped driving our cars everywhere. Those fumes and all of that stuff. Everybody was on lockdown. Even the animals started coming out again.
Exactly, like in New York, they said a lot of the rats and stuff was coming out because they had nowhere to go eat at the restaurants. And they put the food out back, so they were running the streets.
They were taking their territory back.
Yeah,
Deers,
exactly. So what
all
did they
kind of
decided to
animals.
do? They
The
had
Hudson
dogs
River.
and they had cats to try to go after the rats.
They said the Hudson River was starting to get clear. You could see through the Hudson River.
Right.
Because the lax of the toxins and all the crap that usually comes out because people, you starting to see areas, you know what I mean? It's the water starting to get cleaner, the air is getting cleaner.
But no.
Remember the smog in LA?
But it happened out here. It happened out here too. It happened right off this coast a few years ago when the water out here was like blue. It's like a
Mhm.
very. I went out there. I'm like, this looked like the freaking Caribbean. It wasn't brown. It was a Caribbean blue type water as far as I
Right.
can see. I
It
remember
was a
that
lot
years ago.
cleaner when I was a kid. It was a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
It was a lot cleaner, but they dumped garbage in the ocean off the New Jersey coast. I
Yes, they
forget. I
did.
think it was Christie who allowed them to do that, and it just got dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and that's why.
You know those big pipes on the pike where some people go crabbing?
I
Yes,
know.
Pipes that go into that's nothing
yes,
but trash. That's
It's
sanitation. That's
sewage. It's
sewage
sewage
water.
from the treatment
Some of
plant.
it leaks, and that's where the crabs eat from, and they go
Yeah.
all out to the beach. That big pipe coming out of the beach that goes into the water, that's nothing but sewage, poop, blood, urine,
that's
vomit
terrible.
And especially with
into
the
the ocean.
casinos. At one time, you didn't have the casinos was one thing, but now the casinos are pumping all that into those pipes and into the ocean.
Even more. Yep.
Yeah, and Venice Park, because you spoke about Venice Park earlier. If you live in Venice Park on a certain windy night, you could actually smell the fumes from the sewage treatment plants,
Yeah.
coming over there, and you
Yep.
could even smell it into Pleasantville also.
Yeah.
Let me tell
Also
you, you
line
can
the road.
smell that even when it's not a windy night. I lived in
Exactly.
Venice Park for 16
And-
years,
yeah.
and it's the worst one. And you got more
Yep.
ringworm living over there, more cancer living over there. Everybody was getting
Exactly.
ringworm. I
Yeah.
remember the first time I got a ringworm was on my leg. I didn't know what it was, and I was working at resorts, and my leg kept itching, and I picked my dress up a little bit, and I seen this thing on my leg. Well, I was showing everybody. Picked up my dress. I was like, I gotta go to the emergency room, and I gotta go right now.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what it was,
Yep.
but it had raised up, like
Okay.
I mean, really raised up. Not like what you see these little ones that the kid. It was raised up. I
It's
guess
crazy.
because it was there, and I didn't treat it. I didn't know what it was.
Right. Nobody, and you can't see it until it pops out. It's a
Yeah.
parasite. It goes into your
Mhm.
system and through the
The
water.
thing about it is, Venice Park has always had the tourists, even when my family lives back there, because a lot of the people purchased their own homes in Venice Park. But
Mhm.
remember, Venice Park was nothing but a landfill many years ago. It was a dump for the city of Atlantic City. They dumped a lot of trash over there. Then they covered it up, patted it down, and put houses on top of it. That's what they're doing around a lot of these places. They do it in EHT also, converting the landfill into nothing but land. And then you have the people that actually start living there, start actually planting their fruits and vegetables, because everybody wants to live fresh off the land.
Yep.
But
Right.
that doesn't mean that the land is healthy for you to actually live healthy off the land. So
Right.
when
You
you
got to make
actually,
sure it's
and
not
that's the reason why a lot
contaminated.
of people, because my family members fought against this many years ago in Venice Park. My mother passed away from cancer. My father passed away from cancer. Our neighbor next door, and it was like an entire cancer cluster in the
Yep.
entire area in Venice Park.
And you're right. Yeah.
And
I
the
lost a
same
lot of
thing
neighbors.
happened in Towns River, New Jersey. Towns River was another place up there where there was they were manufacturing paint, and they never actually, patch up the landfill or whatever the case may be. A lot of the people were drinking the water and started dying from cancer because you're looking at lead paint, lead poisoning, and some of these cancerous materials.
Now let's
Because
have
they're supposed to dispose of it properly, but
They,
nobody
yeah,
is
they don't
making
ever
them.
do it because they're looking
They
at
give
another
them a
one in
few dollars
Canada.
and they turn their head.
They have another one
y'all
in
remember-
Canada that they're going to do the same thing too relatively soon.
Do y'all remember the Coca-Cola bottling company that was located here in Atlantic City? Coca-Cola bottling company was off of North Carolina Avenue.
I forget where it
The
was, but yeah, I
Coca-Cola
remember it.
It was a bottling company, Coca-Cola bottling company that was located there.
I think
What was also, and I want to say it's Coca-Cola, could have been Pepsi.
No, it
but
was Coca-Cola.
it was a Coca-Cola bottling company. What happened prior to that was a massive dry cleaning accident right on that same property. Toxins went into the ground with all kinds of seeping bleach and all kinds of stuff that was part of the dry cleaning business that took place after the bottling company had shut down. So they found, we're talking about generations of issues with the ground because the bottling company had toxins or whatever coming through, seeping through the ground. That's one of the reasons why they shut down. Groundwater spoils were starting to come in, so the issues of the groundwater. Then the bleaching, right? So all that stuff became a dump. Then all of a sudden, Hope 6 come in, I'm going to build houses. No, you can't build houses until you look at it. Still a lot today. We're talking about 20 plus years of discussion. It's still a lot. They said it's been already remediated. I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen any cranes coming in never evaluation, never soil, never ever been looked at just yet. Still there. Here's the new opposition or new issue. Pleasantville, they're proposing a dump back off of where the rec center is. There's a lot of discussion being had about a dump over where the rec center is. So just the other day, there was a meeting, a community meeting talking about it, and they're trying to propose allowing a dump to facilitate being there. This is
they need to go ahead with that. I'll tell you what the problem is. Pleasantville's in a lot of debt. They're in a lot of debt.
Yeah, they don't want to hurt. So I've heard.
And that's why they're allowing all of these things like the rehab center and the shopping center. Whoever heard of that?
Yeah, you saw
that's commercially zoned. How did that get there?
Mm-hmm.
It should have went right back there where Crossroads is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they got shuttles to take them people wherever they want to go. Now, older people, and especially the elderly, but a lot of people, you can't get into the post office why you go. Somebody standing out begging for money. It's a lot of addicts out here, all over the place, and they're coming from there. They're coming from, and people are scared to death to go to the store and stuff.
I know. I went over to Taco Bell once or twice, and there's people sitting on the outside of Taco Bell trying to scam you into buying them this and doing that.
Yeah.
And across the street from the shopping center, there's a hotel, and a lot of people who are transients live in that hotel, in that property right there. And I'm like, yo, it is amazing how it's been falling.
The Clarion? What used to be the Clarion?
I don't know. It's where
they turned it
like the atrium.
They turned it into a.
I think it's the atrium.
That's what that used to be the Clarion.
Yeah,
it was nice in there. They changed.
No, right across the street where they have the bingo. They have bingo there like once a month or something like that. And it's
you talking about on Noah's
right there, Noah's Landing.
Yeah,
right in front of Noah's Landing. That right there. A lot of transients right there. A whole lot of them.
Wow.
I didn't know how. I had to do a wedding. I think about 2 years ago. This couple, and they lived there, and I didn't know how deep and how many people were living there. I was like, wow. When I went back, I'm like, yo, this is a whole other city. That's how many people were back there. I was like, wow. And it was a lot of transients living there. What I mean by transients is people that not necessarily coming from the community, but landed there, and whatever the situation is, they're there for the moment. You know, whether it's drugs or poverty, whatever. But we're seeing, and this is a complaint that we're having here in Lang City. There's mad homeless people there, and they're at every corner stopping you. The minute you stop at a light, you have a sign that pop up out of nowhere.
All those people, they're not locals, are they? They're not locals. They're coming up inside of here in Atlantic City and stuff, and I see that on a regular basis.
A lot of them are transients. A lot of them are transients. I mean, they've been here a while now, so you can call them local. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But some of them are transients that come into.
But a lot of those people have, some type of problem, whether it's mental, or whatever the case may be. In the city, there should be some type of triage that these people go through. Because I remember one city, I think it was, I can't remember exactly, it was a town that actually had the same problem. And once they start triaging all of these people for their conditions, it makes it a little better. So you know where they have to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? That's one of the issues that I'm fighting for as far as the needle exchange program and Oasis, because they were helping individuals in a transitional phase to try to get them on their feet, trying to prevent them from escalating their addiction, trying to get them off of the addiction, trying to give them ancillary services to get them on their own feet so they can finally go home wherever it is that they were, and they won't necessarily be beating themselves and killing themselves from addiction and all the other stuff. So
all they got to do, Mo, is get them a bus ticket and send them back where they came from.
At one point in time, that was available.
It's too simple of a problem because somebody will give them a bus ticket and send them back to where they came from the first time.
That's half of the problem. They call it bus station therapy.
I don't mean that in a mean way, y'all.
No,
but I think that they need to go back where they came from.
Well, that's one of the discussions that are recently taking place. The governor himself and a lot of other leadership at that level are saying that the entire state should bear their own weight in this whole process instead of all the people that are coming into Atlantic City, because we're the ones established with it. And we're cool because it's finally, if other localities throughout the whole state can now furnish opportunities and resources for them to get addiction services and recuperation services and rehab services, then fine, cool. They call them harm programs. And so now they're going to be doing that. So which is good. It's a great opportunity.
That's good. I always thought they didn't care because most of it always landed on the north side. And in my opinion, they're not doing anything for the north side. All the cameras, everything is on the state side. The casino and the walk. The casinos and the walk. And just like all our policemen work up there, they all do overtime up there. Like they need to be in the town where they work and do something for the town itself.
Absolutely. We're carrying that same message along. We've been saying that for a minute. It's sad how things have gone, but as you see more and more people, it is getting really, it's scary. Honestly, it's scary. Like I've seen some individuals out there really, I mean, high, you know, that high, that heroin lean where they're so far forward or over that they're almost about to fall, but never fall at all. Young people, and I always say this, and God forgive me if I'm looking at this wrong. If you're able-bodied young man, you should be out there begging for shit. Make sure you're able to manage yourself and do whatever it is. I will point you to a place where you can get free food to eat. If you're hungry, and if I have it, I will make sure you can eat. But don't ask me for $1 to get high. I want you to be better. I want you to get better. I'm going to point you where you get service.
That's why, you know, the thing about it is a lot of the cops or whatever, instead of doing next to nothing and stuff, should actually, and the city should have a triage program where you want to identify what's this individual's problem to get them the proper help that they actually need to get back up on their feet.
Yeah,
that's good too. But I also
there's money coming down the pipe from the federal government because, you know, for communities to establish some of these programs to help individuals get out of the rut that they're in.
But instead of like putting all the money into that one area, I feel like some of the money should go into opening like a vocational school in the city, a vocational school to teach, to give people a trade. A lot of these people who are out there selling drugs and stuff is because they can't get a job. Their records are extensive in selling drugs and stuff. It's an extensive record. They need to learn some carpentry skills and some plumbing skills and, you know, HVAC skills. And Renee, they need to learn some of that so that they can
agree with you 100%.
Get employed, and that will take them off the street. They out there trying to get money to eat and feed their families, and that fast money that will slow all that life right down. If you can open a Botech and encourage these young men to go to those schools, they dropped out of school or they made a mistake and now they can't go backwards. And you can't go back because once you get locked up, recidivism is it's going to happen because they make sure that you can't rent an apartment in your name because you have a drug record. You can't get a job because you have a drug. So what do? You go back to what you know. You go right back out there. Give them something else to know.
But it's proven, and Adrian identified it earlier. It's not broken. It's fixed.
Yeah,
it's fixed. So you continuously have to be part of that system because you are now the new age slave.
Right.
Before when slavery comes around, that was free labor from the South, and that's how they made it.
But that's called recidivism, and that's what they. And once you see what's wrong, do take the proper steps to put a wrench in that. Because you know how it is. Once we learn the rules, they change the rules.
Of course.
So that's why it's set up that way. First of all, they funneling our kids into jail with these court systems where the judge is getting paid and you got these privatized prisons and they send so many people to keep the prisons full. Well, let's switch that around. Let's switch that around. Let's give them something to do, something they can learn how to do that they can make $1 at.
You know something, Renee? You look at the Olympics, the Summer Olympics. Okay, and look how many black people were actually getting medals or whatever the case may be. A lot of those sports, you know, a lot of the people in the black community, we already know they don't know how to swim. You see what I'm saying? And if you were to actually give them the ability in the inner cities and to have a swimming pool to actually go to, they will master the art, and you will see a lot much more. Just like Pleasantville have had individuals that has risen to the very top in track and field, and so have Atlantic City. You know, we're good at our sports. You know,
Adrian, we have swimming pools in the school that they won't even open. They won't. Once the swimming team, when Whalen left, that was the end of the swimming program at Uptown and West Side. They won't hire a lifeguard or a swimming instructor to come in and teach those kids. The schools are just sitting there.
Yeah, it's fake.
The
So,
pools are just sitting there.
well, you have the rodents are swimming in the pools or whatever the case may be by now. You know, with COVID and the whole 9 yards. That's crazy. Because, like I said, a lot of these sports we know, and I know as an athlete growing up playing sports, that if you give us the right tools, we'll build on it.
Yeah.
That's
And I've
right.
proven that.
Let me
But
give
they
you.
don't want to get, the thing about it is they don't want to give us the right tools. And the people that we put in office don't see that. And that's the problem.
Right.
And the parents are too high or too, I don't know what they are, to not give a damn. They don't say nothing. They don't fight for it. They just let whatever happens and just work around that. So somebody else needs to do something. Somebody that has the authority to make some changes need to come in and actually make some changes that are going to benefit the residents of Atlantic City and not just the tourist section of Atlantic City. They need to do something to benefit the residents of the city to make their lives better.
I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'm running. So
no, like I said, that old saying goes: you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life.
Exactly.
And that's the bottom line.
Did you see that?
Renee, I've noticed there are enough abandoned properties in Atlantic City that you could create a type of program. You know, contractors, plumbers, get the professionals to come and pay these guys to teach these guys to fix these things up, because the city owns all of these properties. And I know from dealing in real estate that they can flip these things. And actually, you see a lot of, places everybody like, I want to be a flipper. Yeah, I want to be a flipper there. But how many people are really making the money? The contractors, the electricians, the plumbers.
But they need, even if they hire an outside contracting company, because I doubt it's enough qualified people in the city to actually be the contractor. They should have to hire people from the community as apprentices to learn the skill of what they're doing.
I know some of these guys, and this is Adrian. They will not give us the opportunity to do so, to become certified to take care of these things. They went over some of these guys, and I was talking to one 2 weeks ago.
There's things called a CBA, Community Business Agreement, that were brought to the table that would enable the residency or the community to make decisions on whatever comes in for development, housing, or renovation. That would have enabled people to get inside jobs, apprentice jobs, first dibs as being a carpenter, whatever it is that needs to get done. But the industry at that time, even the state government, did not want to agree to that. Why? Because of what we have now is the opportunity for Airbnbs. What do we have now? An influx of buildings that need to get fixed, but they want to act like nobody can fix it. We have enough assets in the city that can be converted. And as Adrian said before, if we had really emphasized on renovating the lives, investing in the lives of the residents and what we have here, the return would have came back 100 times over. By teaching them how to fix their own home, build their own homes, they would have took and bought the homes in the city because the opportunity's there. You work here, you can live here.
That's right.
And you get economic benefit by living here because you helped build it. It was youth built. There's the principles of youth built back in the day, or at that time was Home Inc. You put some of the personal sweat equity into it. That sweat equity turns into financial equity, and that financial equity helps you to buy the property. So
and they should also have some kind of home improvement. I don't care if you live in a project or where you live. They should. What I did over here, I went to City Hall and I talked to the administrator. She's very nice. She always on point with this. And she gave us money. They had grant money and she gave us money. And we went out and bought paint and we bought plants. And I got a petition signed from one end of my street all the way down to that side, all the way down to the bay. And so they gave us the stuff and we got vouchers to go to these greenhouses or Bob's or whatever. And we got plants and stuff to give to people to beautify the neighborhood. Beautification, something it was. And we got them to put plants in their yard and paint their fences. And because a lot of people that are still in these homes are elderly. And so the kids have gone. So they can't afford these things. So we got them and we gave them out to people and they actually used them. So it's a lot of things you can do on a small scale and build up to the bigger ones. But I think somebody should be working on the idea of starting a vocational school over there
Oh,
to get
we've
these
said it a
boys.
million and one times over on this show.
Yeah, get
All
these
We've said
boys
it
off the
over and
street.
over.
we
All
already,
they do.
in the midst of talking and building an academy, we're investing in people to learn the skills that they need to in the real world so they can have a living and be proud of what they're doing.
You know, but not only that, it
And
goes
it'll
on.
take them off the street.
Yeah, but it goes even a point a little further than just, you know, the carpentry and things of that.
Mhm.
Financial education is something that has never been taught that
Yep.
I've
Mhm.
seen. You know, it's a lot of
Mhm.
these schools. They teach us how to, you know, hey, you know, the credit cards. I remember growing up, they're like, oh, go ahead and get a credit card. But if you have a credit card with 21% interest, what's the freaking use?
Exactly.
You know, because you'll be paying more on the interest than you actually paying on the damn card. You know, and the
Mhm.
banks are getting richer. And the banks know these things because if we keep them ignorant with the financial side of things, you know, financial products is what they call it.
Mhm.
So if they keep them
But the
ignorant with
higher
the
your
financial
credit
products,
score,
they're going to
the
benefit
easier it
everything.
is for you to get a lower interest rate. But these kids don't know anything about that. They
They
don't
don't
even know.
know. But
They
you
don't
see
know
the thing,
about credit.
but
They
the
don't know
first,
how to use credit. The only thing they're
exactly.
gonna do is go out and blow it up. And when you blow up your credit card like that, you immediately in the negative because you shouldn't use over 1/3. You shouldn't use over 1/3 because if you do, then you're in the negative.
But the
And they
thing
don't
about
know
it is,
these things.
but you have to remember that, Renee, a lot of these banks contribute a substantial amount to city government.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They donate a lot of stuff. So when you start talking about financial products, they don't want you to know about it because it's going to hurt their bottom line. And the bottom line is the cities.
Yep.
The
Well,
cities benefit
somebody
from these banks.
somebody needs to go to these banks and talk to them because they have a bank in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called, I think it's One United or something like that. They give free finance classes every Saturday to every kid that has $100 in their bank. They can go there every Saturday and take classes in finances for free.
TD Bank does that. TD Banks does it doesn't require you to do that. All you got to do is request of them to come in, and one of their professionals will come in and teach
Okay.
financial literacy
You want me
programs.
to tell you something?
But
TD
are there
Bank,
any TD
I've banked
banks
with
left
that bank.
around here? They the worst bank in the world.
Exactly. TD Bank is one of the worst. And I know because I had a bank account with them.
Right.
I actually closed my business bank account with TD Bank because I says you guys are ripping people off from left to right. I'm not going to
Yep.
play this kind of game with you.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Mhm.
let them know. Because like I
Yep.
said, I know about a lot of these banks and the bottom line, the city, that's where their bottom line comes from. They need those
Mhm.
banks to back them up. The bonds, you know, oh yeah, we'll buy a lot of those bonds and these things of that nature.
They
You
Banking.
should
know,
do
we got
that.
those loans for the city so that people could take out. But the
Mhm.
city is a self-sustaining government that they could do it if they really know how. They could
Right. But
self-sustain
if you're
themselves.
in the community, then you need to be a part of the community. You need
Well,
to contribute to the community and give back to the community, which is the reason why you sitting on that corner.
but
Right.
if they're gonna actually pillage the community, they don't want you to know about what they're pillaging in the community. They prefer to say, yeah, I'm part of your community, even though I'm ripping the community off, and that's what a lot of them are doing.
But
Most
this is what I'm
people.
saying. Once you know that that's a problem area, somebody needs to approach these people and get something
Check them.
different done.
Check them. They need to
But
be checked.
most
Yep.
people aren't
Yeah.
aware of financial institutions and their obligations back to the communities that they're in. They have an
Mhm.
agreement. They have to make a certain percentage of their income or revenue has to be allotted to actually function as a bank for them to be able to do what they do. Because if not, they'd
Mhm.
be a savings and loan or a federal
Mhm.
credit bureau, union. There's different levels, and those depend on the level of commitment. Because a credit union, they have a higher limit than a regular bank or savings and loan of having investment, but they can make more money off of the investment dollars that they spend.
But also,
Mhm.
bro, you know, some of these banks also, because like say if you have a checking account, you go over by like $5. Okay. And if you have another account that has, you know, $5,000 or whatever, some banks will give you the courtesy to move it over to not, you know, have you. But some banks are just going to hit you with that overdraft fee automatically for $5
Right.
or
Yep.
$3 to get that $23 or $30, you know, off the hand.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know, that's kind of criminal. You
Yep.
see what I'm
Right.
saying?
So, but I mean, somebody needs the people with who know about these things and who can converse with them on their level need to go in and actually, if you get one, you'll get two. You know what I'm saying? So it has to start somewhere. And I'd rather go out and beat the pavement and try to make it happen than to sit and say, well, they're not going to do it because of this and they're not going to do it because of that. They're going to have to tell me to my face why they're not going to do it.
There's two ways to impact a bank. One is to stop anyone using that bank for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one's going to the federal government whenever they have hearings in the Federal Trade Commission
Mm-hmm.
to talk about bad practices in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the main two areas I know that can happen, that can
Mhm.
change practice in the banking, because that's one of the two blockades that black businesses have had to face.
Mm-hmm.
People have blocked them from using. You can't go use the ATM. Don't go in there and
Mhm.
start a bank account. Nothing. Don't go and exchange your money. Nothing. No services, because those are where they make their money from, the services. So
Well,
if
that's
don't
what you
use
got to
them,
do.
Yep. So you got to shut it
So
down.
you do what you got to do.
Yep. But
Before I forget this, Mo, did you get a video about this thing called the Dad's Club?
I don't think I did.
Okay, you got to get back on your social media. You slacking.
Yeah.
They have this thing called the Dad's Club now, and they go up to the inlet. They've been going up to the inlet on Saturdays in the morning, and they fish with the kids. They teach the kids how to
I
fish.
did see that. I did see that.
Yeah, and they do it until like it's from I don't know what time it starts, but it's over by noon
Yeah, I did see that.
on Saturday. But I
Yeah.
think that was I think that's great, and I think that maybe you should try to find out about them and try to help get the word out that they're up there doing this, and maybe you can get some other people to help them instruct the kids on how to use the reel, how to how to bait the hook, how to how to bring in a fish. And
There's actually a teacher who, if I'm not mistaken, he's at the Uptown Complex. This guy would run a program every year and use a boat. He would take kids out on the boat to teach them how to fish out on the boat. And talking about, he would apply life skills and life issues
Right.
fishing. And
Right.
every year he says he goes out there. Matter of fact, there's two organizations, if I'm not mistaken. One's a faith-based organization, and it's him. And they're all doing the same thing. There's great ideas. I love the fact that it's a DASH program because it's our program from our people doing it ourselves.
Right.
So,
Right.
I think it would be cool if we can share the program and making sure that it continues by putting all those minds together. Because if they're
Well,
focusing on the same thing,
I will shoot you a name in your inbox,
okay,
like a contact,
okay,
so that maybe you can look into that, because I don't know all the detail, but
okay.
I just thought this is very much needed. You know what I mean? And that's another time, because fishing is really, to me, a relaxation sport. All you're doing is waiting for something to bite. But while you're waiting for something to bite, you can talk about life issues. You can discuss credit. You can discuss some of these things and teach these kids while they're young about pertinent information that will help them throughout their lives. So you don't have to wait for somebody else to do something all the time. You know what I'm saying? If you get enough people out there and they start talking to these kids and doing the right thing, it could get better.
Absolutely.
It could get better.
We agree. I mean, that's just one example of the things that we're talking about before. As you said before, it's a tool. It's a necessary tool, and we got to keep supporting tools like that. So I agree, and I thank you for reminding me, because I did run across that. I saw a short video of one kid had something. He was so happy, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
flounders, and I don't know if it was Wilfredo or somebody else that I know is involved, because these people are regular fishermen, but they started this program. I just didn't make the connection to Dad's program. I didn't understand. I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, it's called the Dad's Club
or something like that, right? Yep.
But yeah, and it was a lot of kids out there. Their dad wasn't there, but they was there with somebody else's dad, and but that's the whole thing. Each one teach one.
Yep.
So
we did something similar in a different type, and it was dads that were willing to step in for other dads that can't be there when daddy daughter dances and proms. We did that 2 years, and I had to fill in a few times for some other fathers that weren't there, so I could be the male figure or the daddy figure a couple times.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people carrying that same mentality, which is good, and they continue to do so. So it's a great thing, man. I love how that's continuing. It's manifesting in different ways, but it's still good no matter what. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a group that do that, but then you still got this group that does the fishing, and then you know what I'm saying, and so on, and like you can really get some positivity started through programs like those. They don't have. I remember when they used to play Little League all over Atlantic City. They don't do it anymore.
Yeah,
and they were casino sponsored.
Yes, each one.
But now they don't have. Now they have no coaches.
That's one of the things I talked about before. Long term, if everything works out and I get elected in position, one of the things is I want to obligate these casinos to be play a greater part in the north side of the city by adopting communities, getting involved in recreational facilities, getting into schools, being a part of it. So you'll own part of what you also feeding into Atlantic City, so you're part of it. Greater part.
Well, they were doing when my son was a kid. He played baseball, but he was on the team, the Claridge team. The Claridge bought their uniforms, this, that, the other thing. Yeah, I mean, why did that stop?
Yeah, you know the thing about it also, because you know a lot of some businesses you mentioned like plumbing and Home Depot would love to be participating in a lot of these things as far as beautifying the community and helping and working in the communities to help people, you know, with plumbing and all of these different things. They would love to be a part of it because I believe that they do have programs within the Home Depot company to do these things.
They do free classes
Yeah.
for ages 5 and up. I think it's on Saturday. What we would have to do is have a bus to take the kids over there because they can't get there. We would have to have a bus to take the. We would have to have a bus to take the kids over there so that they can learn the tools and how to use them. They start them off making little bird houses and different things like that. But you're learning how to measure. Like the stuff you're learning is good stuff. So maybe we could get something going like that and have some kind of bus, get somebody, maybe a parent over here has a CDL and they wouldn't mind volunteering their time to take the kids over there and pick them up and bring them back if we had a bus. You know what I'm saying?
But at the same time, you're looking at you taking the kids over there, but Home Depot is looking at it as an investment in the community because some of these kids may be working for Home Depot and being a manager of the store for Home Depot or even one of the corporate offices at the very top. Right. So you're actually molding them. You're molding them.
And they're going to want to do things at home once they start learning how to do it at the store. Correct. And so their parents are going to come in there and buy the stuff so they can do things. They'll learn how to repair their own steps. They'll learn how to fix things in their apartment. You know what I'm saying?
If we get one of the instructors to come on site to one of these open homes that haven't been sold to help rehab, like the plumbing, you teach them on site the plumbing that's there. They help to beautify the building there. They get the inspiration to do the work. They are looking to doing the work even more so. They have some skill and potentially they might want to later on down the line buy that same house, if not one of the houses in the community.
And a lot of the workers at Home Depot are retired electricians, a lot retired carpenters. A lot of those people come from those fields of life. So you know you can expand on what's already going on and get everybody a little Home Depot apron, and that's free advertisement. You know what I'm saying? What one hand feed the other.
Why not?
But Biden is also supplying a lot of people with money coming down the pipe to beautify a lot of communities and help build up a lot of communities. So now you have the money and you have the people that's willing to learn, put them together. That's all it is.
Right. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. There's so many things that can be done.
Down the pike, you have the second form of the infrastructure, which is the not the physical, but now the personal one. I think there's another term that they use, but this is the one with the different programs, and a lot of it is going to be with crime prevention and stuff like this. This ties in perfect with that. If you're able to fund that type of program to renovate properties, to have kids and even adults learn trades on hand, and you can develop the union partnerships to go in so they can get their books and so on and so forth, and interest, and it builds equity. There's so many pluses to this whole concept if that opportunity comes around. So hopefully
I sure hope it does. And when the time comes, these things need to be brought out in the open so people know that they're happening or going to happen. Please come to the council meetings or whatever they have to do. Show yourself as a force. You know, the community come out and show themselves as a force. Yeah, we're interested. Yes, we want to do this type of thing. Blase, and that pushes them in that direction.
Yeah, because it would be remiss if I didn't identify Ideal, the school. They started doing teaching hands-on skills, dealing with construction trade programs. Some of it. I don't think they made them tradesworthy per se, but they've got them familiar with it, and hopefully they're going to go and launch them into some sort of practice in the trades and or wherever the trades are located from, maybe a secondary business.
Well, you know the
Yeah,
thing about it, Mo,
they
because I know the guy that started up that program. So eventually down the road, I'm going to get him on this show
mhm,
to explain a lot more of that
Right.
in detail. What's going on
mhm.
with that organization or company idea.
Right.
That's what I want to
Yeah,
do.
Right. Right. Right.
they do all these bids for jobs in the city. They always go to outside contractors. Well, that's fine, but make them get some apprentice help from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Make part of the contract be that they have to train some of these young boys to do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if all you know is running around on your bike in your community or sitting on a step or fighting with the guy next door every time he come out the house, that's what you're going to do. You have to show them something different.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why people go away to college. You
Yeah.
got to see something different. If you don't show, I've taken kids to the boardwalk who have that live in Atlantic City that
Crazy.
have never seen the beach,
Crazy. Right.
that have never seen the ocean. Are you serious?
Right. Right.
So
Broadening
yeah, we
perspective.
need to get into it.
Broadening perspectives. That's one of the things I firmly believe in. Because one thing I was starting to get really upset with always hearing there's nothing for these kids to do. There's nothing for these kids to do.
Well,
You
it's not.
Well, I mean, there is. The only thing is that it's not of interest to the kids because you don't give them an exposure to it. There's so much more that's available. Even the training programs, some of the training programs that are still there. There's been a lot of programs, small little programs that try to spark up interest to do some things here and there. Like you mentioned, the fishing programs. There's been fishing programs. There's been junior female programs. There's the civil the academy for people who want to work in the police department. There's different little programs here and there. It's just inciting, exposing them to the kids, and then giving them the end result. See how it works and benefits them in long term, and then give them exposure because exposure is a lot to it. It's a lot,
right? But the other part of that is making it known.
Yeah.
People out in the community don't even know these things are happening.
Right. Yeah.
Because my biggest thing is always, well, there's plenty to find for a little boy to do, but ain't nothing for a little girl to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to make sure that people are aware of these programs.
Right.
Maybe you can get the Atlantic City station back up, Channel 2 or whatever they were doing when Derek Kason was doing it.
Yes.
And advertise these things. Talk about these things. Put flyers out. You know where the kids like to shop? Put them in the schools.
You know what?
Send them home. Send them home. Take the flyers to the school and let the parents send them home in their folders and stuff for their parents to see. It's a way to do it.
Let me share with you. You said one element that really sparked something in me that I kept reliving the conversations I'm having. You said flyers. We come from that realm where everyone read stuff, where you see it in a newspaper, you saw flyers. Sometimes, whether it's at a church, you see it in an announcement or something else. Flyers was something that was a regularly available thing that people looked into. Flyers are not easily available like it was before. Now, electronic media seems to be the source for information. However,
put it on Facebook.
It's proven.
Put it on TikTok.
It's proven the least information a community has, the easily manipulated they can be and control they can be. When Christie got into office, he made sure Channel 2 got shut down. He made sure the local radio that was supportive of us changed their programming. All that stuff changed. Why? Because as long as the greater New Jersey wasn't aware of what the impacts that were happening here in Atlantic City and the heart of Atlantic City, then they'll continue to go. Still happening here. That's why one of the avenues of the new norm was supposed to be to give people access to be able to share what they have point of view and give them information as it comes available to us, because you're not going to find it everywhere else. Don't expect the press of Atlantic City to write about articles of things that you care about now, because we don't purchase the press of Atlantic City. The people who purchase it are the people that live in the suburbs. They don't care to hit the positivity. They just look for the juicy rumor milling and the negativity that you see all the time, because they love to make Atlantic City be the big bad guy.
Right, but so we know that, right? So what do we have to do? We have to flood those areas with the information once we have it or something is happening. I don't care if you put it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things.
Yes,
it's available. And have it announced at the school. And have the kids send a flyer. Mom, can I sign up for this? Because kids, listen, they still do that. I want to sign up. I want to sign up. Well, tell your mom and have your mom sign up. That's da 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 da. You have to get them thirsty. Everybody say, oh, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, you can make him drink if you get him thirsty first. So let's get him thirsty.
But you know something also, Renee, back in the day, they used to have a career day in some of the schools. When I went to Chelsea many years ago, they had career day where you will have, you know, certain people in certain types of careers, whether it's an electrician or somebody, you know, they will come into the schools, you know, and tell the kids what they actually do in the whole 9 yards as far as, you know, what, you know, in conference, their entire business. And I don't hear about it. I don't see it. I don't know if it's still around or whatever.
Well, they still do it, but we get the same people over and over again. The same people over and over again. Yeah. So you have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so they do. Yeah.
Every year, I would do at least 3 schools, career night or back to school night, to make them aware of what I do. And what I did was I always made sure if this year I'm talking in the presence of a social worker, next year I'm going to talk about the presence as being an elected official. And then I'll you know, alternate this way. It's always a discussion about life, but also an exposure about what I do and how important it is, or what it is. How many
people participate in that, Mo?
Usually, every time I go, Sovereign Avenue School, we may have had about 20, 25, maybe 30. At Pennsylvania Avenue School, I saw maybe 40 at the time I went. Uptown, it was about 40. But it's like Renee said, it's the same people that you see over and over again. They're willing to do it. They're willing to do it. One year we saw a spike when we saw the engineers come from NAFAC. And we had about at least 7 engineers there. And then we had another organization come from the state that talked about it because they wanted to involve. I think it was like right before election season, maybe 8 years ago. And that's probably what it was. But we saw a spike, and we saw maybe each school had at least 50 different people with, I mean, very advantageous different careers. A helicopter pilot came with a helicopter to MLK school and parked on a lot. You know, it was
parked over at Poploid.
It was different. It gave them a different perspective. But
they were excited.
Yeah, when it was different. But then you saw the same people, like myself. It was the same people.
Yeah, they have to interchange because there's more than one category of different things that they could actually do with their life. You know, whether they decide to get into website design or, you know, security, internet security, or whatever the case may be.
And nobody has to be, everything doesn't have to be so elevated like it. Because it feels unreachable to the kids. If you got to remember the age group where you are, because they put things and it's like unreachable. It's okay. It's like going, that was like I went to the amusement park that day and now I forget about it. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be something. And kids definitely need something to do with their hands. Idle hands is the devil's tool. So they need things that they can do with their hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? They need to be busy. They need to have something. These kids have no structure.
Yeah, because, you know, the thing about it is a lot of kids love to play the games, but a lot of kids don't know how to develop the games that they love to play. Big problem. You see what I'm saying? Whereas in other communities, they're like, oh yeah, you love to play the games, but we're going to teach you how to actually make the games. Big difference.
They had a STEM program over here that was doing that. The kids were making robots and everything. It was on Woodland Avenue in the office area there. They had a STEM. The woman from Stockton, I think, was doing it. It was remember Miller's clothing store? It was a guy that worked there named Gene. It was his wife. She works at Stockton, and she had that STEM She started that STEM program over there.
I know exactly what you're talking about because she did it was called STEAM. They added art in it. I know exactly what you're talking about because she worked with the robotics team at MLK, and the robotics team went to a national competition and won from MLK, which was really fly. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And
we have a great guy there, Mr. Holmstrom. Very good guy. Like he would be excellent for that kind of stuff.
You know, one of the barriers that we have, though, unfortunately, because our city or this region is so heavily gaming that the amount of job diversity isn't as big in like other areas. You know, if it's not gaming oriented, you'll find little spurts of other things. You'll see the teachers because you got schools. You'll see a nurse because obviously you got medical attention. but the diversity in career options isn't as widely available as in like a big city or other
And it
areas
needs
where
to be
gaming is
because
not.
these kids, you know, these kids when they graduate from high school, they need to know something else other than gaming.
Yeah, man.
Because that's the only way you can bring back some of these people back into the community to actually better the community also.
Right.
Because that's
That's
one
a
of the
good
programs
place
that
to start
I
to learn
see out there.
financing.
Yeah.
Was
The
that?
casinos is a good place to start to teach the kids financing, but they do other things. They do repairs in there. They have plumbers in there because I know some. You know what I'm saying?
You
They
know,
have
for a second,
HVAC. They have
for a second,
HVAC guys that work
yeah,
in
yeah. I
local
know a few of my
68.
guys do that, yeah.
Yeah. The only
You know,
thing
the thing about it, when you said the casino was a great place to actually, you know, teach people about financing, being a dealer over 30 years, I thought about, you know, are you gonna teach them gambling? When he said
No,
that,
no, 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 no,
I
no,
just,
no. I don't
I
mean
just
that.
that one went through my head. That's why I started laughing.
I don't. No, no, no. I don't mean
Because
that.
the
I don't
gambling
mean that.
it's nothing but addition and subtraction. You
No,
add
no,
to
no.
their
I don't
bottom
mean.
line, you know, and
Well,
it's
they got to
subtract from your
multiply
pocket.
too, and a lot of our kids can't multiply. So
yeah.
I'm being serious.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I wish we had a if there was a reset button to do gaming, I would definitely hit a reset button because there was so many opportunities that we let fall. If we had a chance to really prosper and grow, because this area got stifled, I think it's some of us got lazy. Because once you get into the gaming industry, if you did whatever you did, the primary job was always to be a dealer. You know, and
because that's where the money was.
yeah, that's what
dealer
the
or
money was.
facilities.
You know,
Dealers or facilities. Those are the two jobs that always made more money
but
than.
let me tell you something more. I don't know if you saw the picture of me on Facebook that I took with my both of my sisters yesterday. One is from Las Vegas and the other one is from, you know, Long Island.
I did see
Because
that.
one of my sisters, you know, she actually went. She was one of the first dealers in Atlantic City. She worked at resorts, and she worked her way up the ladder. You know, on that side. My other sister worked her way up on Wall Street. You know, so both of them like totally two different sides of the spectrum. So that's the reason why my perspective at times can be so broad because I have members of my family. You know, my niece, my oldest niece, is an RN. Right now, I have my nephew actually going to school to become a doctor. Yeah. So you have the, you know, and the young lady that you saw in the picture with me, she's a senior at Syracuse University. So you get a different perspective of what the kids are looking for, what they're doing, you know, how to try to better things. You know, I look within my family structure at time, and even my friends on the outside. A friend of mine just called me, worked for Comcast for about 20, going on 25 years. You know, and he's one of those linesmen. Every time somebody hit a pole, he goes out there and he try to restore the cable and the whole,
Right.
you know, and it's an honest trade. You know, it makes good money. There's no doubt about it. And these are some of the things outside the casino industry that people could actually do.
And another thing they could do is put sign language into the schools as a language. Sign language is very big, very lucrative.
American Sign Language can be. My wife studied American Sign Language.
So did I.
She took a couple courses for that stuff, and there's opportunities for that. The only thing about it is not as widespread. Being an interpreter is helpful, you know what I mean, and you're an asset. Definitely in the court system and in advocate programs and stuff like that, medical health and type of stuff. That's definitely, those are the ones that are primary needs. So it's definitely helpful. Picking up languages is wonderful anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's not the deaf language is really on the rise. And if you look up in North Jersey, baby, I got a lot of friends that I went to college with up there. That's what I went to school for sign language interpreting. So that's where it is. It's up there. It was down here, but it dried up because the families, we had whole families down here that were deaf, but they've moved away. The kids have gotten grown and stuff like that. But we have a sign language program at Sovereign Avenue. So why can't the kids go to school and learn the sign language?
True.
It doesn't hurt. Makes them bilingual, right?
And they need to, and they also could show them the benefit of courtroom interpreting for oral languages. Oral languages make more than sign language interpreting, if you can believe that.
Yes. But see,
oral interpreting.
This goes back to exposure. We don't expose our kids to the different options. And in our city, the options that are readily available to them are more about gaming or hustling.
Right. But we don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got to move away from that.
Exposed to easily, gaming or hustling. And in
But
some
that's
instances, they're one and the same. And then
right. So
some
what?
people, it
Yeah.
really takes us as the adults and to really expose them, to give them other examples. But if they
Right.
would just, if there was no one to guide them, for them to just see it, unfortunately, they don't have as many examples that they can look at it. Our
But
doctors
also,
don't live in the communities anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Our lawyers don't live in the same communities anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have plumbers that live directly in the communities anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So all the ones
But
that
they're not far away. We got a lot of plumbing companies over here in Pleasantville.
of course, yeah. But these are still, that's a little bit step further from urban America, where the bulk of the stifling is, than it is. It's still a suburb. Pleasantville's
but you know,
Pleasantville.
what it is also, getting both communities, Pleasantville and Atlantic City, to cooperate
Right.
with some of these programs will actually benefit
Right.
the kids. You just
Yeah,
can't be
and
an
the
island all to
casino.
yourself, because remember, when you look in the Atlantic City press, it's always Atlantic City and Pleasantville, Pleasantville, Atlantic City.
That's
bad
it.
things, bad things.
Yeah,
Show some good things that's coming up out of these two
that's
communities,
right.
because they're the only two Democratic strongholds in the South
Mm-hmm.
Jersey area.
Yeah.
Right. And the casino industry has so many different pathways that you can take: marketing, hotel administration, so
Right.
many different things. It's more to it than gambling, and more to it than the
Exactly.
casino floor, but nobody knows about it. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? It's a
Exactly.
lot of stuff going on in there.
Yes, it
It's
is.
a lot of stuff.
And you see the people who do those jobs don't share it with the other people who are not aware that those jobs exist. They don't
Well,
come
I don't
into the communities to talk about the jobs that they
No,
do.
they don't.
know, but I think they would if they were invited.
Exactly. That's the point. They must be invited. They're not just going to
I
show up
think
willy-nilly.
right. I think that they would if they were invited.
Yeah.
If they knew
course they
about
would.
career day and it wasn't always okay, I'm gonna bring my mom and my sister and let them talk about what they do. Go out and actually get somebody from these different walks of life who are doing something different right within the town that you know that are making six figures, and bring them in there and let them talk
You
about
know
this
the thing
stuff.
about it, Renee, because if you invite these people and coming up from the casino industry, and I know a lot of these people, they will
Mhm.
show up in a
They
heartbeat.
will come.
They will come in a heartbeat. I know
They
that for
will
sure.
come.
But
Yes, they
you know
will.
what? The other part of it is some of them won't come because of fear of losing the job that they've got luckily
But
to
if
get into.
the house supports it and it's good for the community, they will support it and they will go along
Yeah.
with it, and everything will fall in place.
But
That's
that's
Right.
the thing. You have to bait them. You have to let them know what's the positive side and the
no, of
upside
course
to this,
that's
to be a
marketing.
part of the
Marketing and
community,
culture.
and invite
Marketing
them
and culture
inside,
change.
and they will come along.
Yeah, marketing and culture change. But remember, unfortunately, our the gaming culture has degraded some. They're still into, if you're in a house, we'll send a job up on the wall. If you want to apply
But
for it,
right now,
they're
Mo,
not inner
I don't
hiring.
think that, because right now they're looking
Right,
for
but
really good employees. They're looking for employees.
right,
They're very short-handed on a lot of employees. And if they
right.
know that they could actually, like in Vegas, actually create a culture that some of these
Mhm.
employees going to come to work for them in these specific positions, they're going to help out in the community. But like Renee said, they must be invited. They're not just going to put it out there.
Right.
They must be
And
invited. Like Home Depot, no different. They're not just going to
right.
show up. You have to
That's
invite them.
right. That's right. You have to, because they don't have shop classes in school anymore. You used to have shop classes. You go in there, you
I
learn how
know.
to make
I
a
went to
clock.
school for
You
that.
learn
I
how to
took
make a
that.
little piece of furniture. You learn how to do this.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
I had that
You
in
know what I'm
Chelsea
saying?
Junior High. They did in Atlantic City High School. They did back when I was going up to these high
When
schools.
we were going to
Junior high.
school, yes,
Right,
but not
right,
so much
right.
anymore.
Right.
And just like you have, like we have science fair at our school every year. The kids really love it. It turns up. They
Yes.
have different booths all in. Why can't you set up different booths throughout the gymnasium and let the kids come in and talk to people about different careers? Why does it always have to be one thing and nothing else?
Yeah, that's very important, because even when I was in Trinidad, we will have, like, my teacher will create a type of career type day, whereas we'll all pretend that we're shop, we own a store, and we're actually and that's how I end up owning a store, ironically enough,
Mm-hmm.
because I was taught as a growing up on the island of Trinidad at the age of 7 or 8 how to
Mm-hmm.
run a store, and I actually giving
Right.
people back the change and talking to them and the whole 9 yards,
Right.
and later on in life I end up owning 3 of them.
Right. You have to show them something different. They don't know anything different. That's why the
Correct.
repetition is just a cycle over and over again. Nobody's interrupting that cycle. Nobody's showing them any different.
The
Oh,
finances.
well, they only
Yeah.
know this and they only know this and they only know that because that's all you showing them.
You know the thing
They're
about Renee?
kids.
My teacher always said when I went to trade school at Penco Tech, you know, a
Mhm.
mechanic is made in the shop and not in the classroom. A lot of people say a lot of these kids don't know math, but then on the same level, I've seen kids, even myself, that when my teacher taught us a particular type of math, I actually found out how to do it another way other than the way he was doing it. But we were both coming up with the same answers. See,
Right. But they
there's
want you to
one way.
follow their steps, which
Yeah,
I
I
think
did
is a
not
bad
follow their
thing.
step. I actually look at the answers and how the answers, and I try something different, and that's how I actually create. I did the same
Right.
thing at Penco Tech, and I did the same thing in high school. I had my
Mhm.
teacher changing the grades of the other kids because I set an example to actually
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
follow their rules.
Right. So I mean, there's always more than one way to do a thing. But
Yeah.
it's especially with math, our kids take a long time because they're taught this. Everything they're taught now has like 50 steps to it. Like you don't have time to do that when you're taking a test. If you want to know what your multiplication is, you better study it when you go home with them flashcards and get it and come in here because that's the basis for everything.
You know
You know,
what?
some,
They don't
you know
even do that
something
no
coming
more.
up off of the islands. Okay, because I went to school in Trinidad. I took the Common Entrance, which is a national exam, down on the island
Mm-hmm.
of Trinidad. And when I
Mm-hmm.
came to the United States, I ended up in the seventh grade over here, where I had
Mm-hmm.
to take a totally separate test because they had no idea what my testing skills were like down on the island.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn
Mm-hmm.
two different types of
Mm-hmm.
doing math because
Mm-hmm.
England does math a particular way, you know, which Trinidad will go here, and America does math a different way here.
Mm-hmm.
America,
Mm-hmm.
when America is actually doing a metric, right? When America actually converted to the metric system, I was learning metric system when I was a kid in Trinidad.
Well, they
You know,
haven't
I didn't like
converted
it
to
much,
metric
but I
system
was
over
learning the
here.
metric system. And I come to find out America had the standard system and they were in the process of creating the metric system. But a lot of people didn't catch on to the metric system. But I was taught that, you know, back in Trinidad before I even hit the seventh grade. You see, so
Right.
I
In
know about
elementary
that
school.
then. You
Right.
know, and today
Right.
America still uses both systems now. They use the metric and the standard system when it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to measurements and taking,
Mm-hmm.
you know, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like milliliters and centimeters and
I
that
know what
type
you
of stuff.
mean.
You know, and then you have the inches, the feet, the yards. So, you
Right.
know, so you have two different types. And that's one thing that made me so different from a lot of people because I had to learn two sides. History is the same thing. I learned
Mm-hmm.
Western Indian history growing up. But then when I
Mm-hmm.
came to the United States, I had to learn American history. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, you know, when I first came to America, I didn't know who Martin Luther King was because he's not taught down and he
Mm-hmm.
never represented anything down on the island of Trinidad.
Right.
And so I had to learn all of these things as we go along. So I have
Well,
a
you know,
very
you
perspective.
basically have to teach yourself. You have to have an interest and do the digging and teach
Exactly,
yourself
exactly,
about American history because you're
exactly.
gonna get the same stuff every year, year after the same
And,
people, the same
and that's the
everything.
reason,
Nothing.
and that's the reason why I found out, you know, how much scamming was going on in the American system because I'm like, yo,
Yeah. Doesn't make
even like the Juneteenth, a lot of people didn't know about Juneteenth on 2019, 2020. I didn't hell
Because
know what the hell of a Juneteenth was because they
they
were
don't
never
teach you
taught
that
that
in
back when I
school.
was growing up in
They
America.
don't
Of
teach you that in school. You lucky if
course
they teach 2 weeks of Black History Month. You lucky if they teach 2 weeks
not.
of it. And that's going to be Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, the same people you learned
Yeah,
about
the same, yeah,
in
the same,
kindergarten.
correct.
It's what's easy for
So
them to be teaching people. But
But
listen,
there's a
no,
lot.
they
You're
say
gonna find there's a lot of
they
stuff that's left
sometimes
out
they
of the
say, you know
history
what they
book.
say? Oh, it's so depressing. Is
oh
it?
well, oh well. But that's the discussion that we're talking about now about critical race theory. There's so much adversity for critical race theory. I'm like, that's crazy. Well, listen, it's 10:30 p.m. I know we talked about a lot, and I really appreciate, Renee, that you came on this
Oh
evening
yeah, definitely.
to give us so much more from the perspective that we get
Exactly.
from you.
We love it. We love it.
We get it
Thank
from you
you.
every time you're on the comment section, but not like to this extent. So it's good to see you.
Oh, I
Please,
love your perspective. There's no doubt about it. So
please
you're
come on by.
always family, you're never a stranger. You know.
Right. Please
Yeah.
come on by. You've been part
I'll
of the
try. I'll
family
be
anyway.
back, but you know, y'all know I'll be busy. I got things going on in my life
Hey,
right now that's
we all
taking
are
my
busy. I
attention.
gotta make time to do
But
this every Friday night.
but when
Hey,
I can,
I just got back from like hours on the road. You know, from New York, New Jersey,
Mhm.
Brooklyn.
we
You know, and that
only,
was
Mhm.
just yesterday.
we only ask you
Wow.
to stop by and connect when you can. That's all. When you can, come on, stop by and connect.
Will
But
do.
but when we close, like we always do, we give everybody opportunity who was a panelist tonight to have a discussion. Anything that you'd like to share with the general public, the floor is yours, Renee. Please give us a few words and whatever closing statement you'd like to make, you're welcome to.
I think the one thing I would like to say today is that we all need to get serious about investing in our children. Invest in our children. You know, break the cycle, show them the way, show them different things, not just the same thing. Or let them know that there's more than what they're looking at going on in the world.
Absolutely.
Nice, sweet.
We all agree on that one, definitely. That's a return on investment for a lifetime, right?
That's right.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you. Appreciate it.
They always appreciate you, no doubt. Love you, no doubt.
Adrian, drop some wisdom on us. Come on, man.
Oh, like it says, you know, you saw I posted something, you know, in COVID, a lot of people are not taking care of their general health. We're looking at something over here when something is over here is going on with our body and our system. You know, losing, you know, friends and family members because they took their eyes off the ball, your general health. And like you said, Renee, which is very important, get that blood test to know where you stand. You have to know that first before you actually make decisions of what you're going to do moving forward. But you definitely need an expert professional that knows what they're doing and talking about before, you know, you make that decision, because you don't want to injure yourself by taking too much or too little of anything. You just want we want you to stay safe. We want you to stay alive. It's very important. You know, and family, like it says, you know, yesterday I had the blessing that I had both of my sisters, and this very rarely ever happens. One from New York and the other one from Las Vegas. And I was actually able to pull them together, which was a tall order. I never told one where the other one was coming. So I pulled the whole thing off yesterday. And it worked out perfectly. It worked out perfectly. They loved each other. We had fun the whole 9 yards, because family is important, especially during this time, because I believe that we're going to go into another segment. They say we're not going to lock things down, but in actuality, they're going to close things down. They're not going to lock it down. They're going to close it down. That's the bottom line. You know, so we're going to lock with the doors closed. Exactly. Right? They're just going to do it differently. They said we're not going to lock anything down. We're just going to close it down. And that's what we're looking at. You know, so you have to appreciate your family and your friends, you know, because you never know if this might be your last day on earth. Don't hold any grudges, because that's never good. I saw a friend of mine holding grudges, and it's not good to pass away. And, you know, you have that on your heart, you know. Try to live. And that's what it's all about. And like I've always said, be strong, be smart, be positive, and test negative. And that's where I'm at.
There we go. That's a golden one. And for anybody who's watching now and didn't watch it earlier, thank you for stopping by. I'd like to encourage everybody to stop by our website, www.thenewnorm.club. And you're able to get information there if you'd like to. Also, a link to our brother Adrian's website, where he does his radio broadcast every Saturday night, 4 hours of old school jam. Adrian,
I'm gonna be rocking it again tomorrow night, man. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get jiggy with it.
Right. Oh, I gotta look for that. You better inbox me some information.
Yeah, I want to see if I get Facebook and stuff. You know, send you one of those friend things, and then you could actually just link up and take you to my website. You know, because like I said, I'm gonna be pushing it out again tomorrow for another 4 hours. It's my therapy. You know, music is the heart and soul of, you know. That's what I look at.
He gets it rocking. I keep joking with him. He's Master Blaster up on there. I said, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And in the future, I'm looking at recruiting some DJs, because I've created another one for basically reggae and soca. And then we have another one for old school. So I have 2 radio stations that I now control. Actually, 3, because I have the one with Mo also. You know, so it's going to be soca and reggae. And it's going to be the other one. It's going to be old school. So I don't want to intertwine them, but keep them separate, but to be able to connect through our website.
Right.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So again, as we say, if you have a lot of information you're looking for, there's a lot of information that we have available for you at thenewnorm.club. Please come on there. And if you'd like to, you can share a comment, maybe give some inspiration of what may be interesting to you, so we can have a discussion about that moving forward in the future, or discussions that we have in the past. We have a link there that you can go on. If you'd like to see an old show or a topic that we talked about in previous shows, you're able to connect there. The New Norm is a conduit of information. We've always been a conduit of information, and also a place that you can pull up a chair and have a good conversation with. So we appreciate everyone stopping by. Remember, it's really important for us to stay together as families. My mother-in-law basically she tapped in and says, please keep family together.
Yeah.
It's extremely important that we continue to treat
Yes.
each other like family with respect and love, and try to stay together, because tomorrow is definitely not promised. And as people are passing off, we don't ever want to regret the opportunity to say hi, or at the very minimum, I love you, because life is not promised. And so appreciate one another, appreciate yourself, stay healthy, do what you can, be active in understanding what's attacking us, and whole. Fight the COVID-19 in every way possible you can. Be protective, preserve life. Do what you can to make sure life is much better in your life. Better quality of food, better quality of time. Use your time wisely, because time goes off too often. You got a chance to share some moments with a good friend, do that.
Yes,
Don't sit up and wait till tomorrow. You got a chance to make a phone call, do that. Tomorrow may not be available. Appreciate these opportunities. What makes you and I wealthy is not the food or the assets. It's not what we own, but it's the connections we've built with people in our world. So be wealthy, love one another, and continue to push on. Go ahead, Adrian.
Hey, can I say something before? Will all men say amen? That's what I like to say. Will all men and women say amen? And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's what it's about. Amen. That's it.
That's right. So we're all in this together. So we appreciate you stopping by. The new norm has always been available to you. The new norm 2.0 just means we're doing things a little bit better, as we always do. Thanks for Adrian always for coming in, being the man that he is, the wonderful wind between the wings of the show. My cohort, the guy that's next to me as always, and appreciate now seeing her wonderful face, Renee.
Always a pleasure. We got to add some beauty every now and then to this show, Renee, so don't be a stranger, all right? All right?
Yep.
Okay.
We've been blessed to have some queens to come on and talk about different things here and there. So it's really good to see all our neighbors, all our friends worldwide to come in. We're looking forward to seeing some people that we haven't seen in the past. Remember, if we made you family in the past, you're still family, and we miss you, cuz we want to know how you're doing. So stop on by and make that connection. So we'll see how things are going. But as my brother Adrian said earlier, stay positive, test negative. It's not that hard.
That's it.
Take care of yourselves. God bless. Be well, y'all.
Take care. Have a blessed weekend.
Good night.
See you.